100 and 104 through Wednesday. Bakersfield could be a little hotter than that today. The weather starts easing later in the week. Thursday should be near 100, highs dropping into the upper 90s Friday, and then through the weekend. McFarland police are still looking for 2 people after a man was shot and killed inside a laundromat Saturday. Police say an argument inside the Capri laundromat on Perkins Avenue ended in gunfire. I'm Rob Archer in the Kern newsroom with news every half hour, and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
To the rest of a month from now, this Hollywood Big Shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you wherever you may be, however you may be listening, or however you may be viewing for those streaming on YouTube. This is the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at KERNradio.com. Chris Burdick is producing the show on this 24th day of August, and we've got a busy show to start the week. Dr. Jeet Singh will join us at the bottom of the hour. Obviously, the story that everyone is talking about is the shooting at Independence by an independent was it at Independence or Centennial? It was at Independence. The shooting at Independence High School that claimed the life of a 17-year-old boy. There's a vigil tonight. What we're going to talk about with Dr. Singh is, and I understand, and I'll preface this before I talk with him, and I understand that the Kern Medical Center, my father told me this when I first moved here, is the best trauma hospital in Kern County by far. By far. I don't know if KMC overall is the best hospital in town, but if you're shot, stabbed, or badly injured, you want to go to KMC. I get that. But I don't understand if I'm lying at Independence High School bleeding out with internal injuries, why you would take me from Southwest to Northeast. In other words, why would you not take this kid to a closer hospital, get him stabilized, stop the bleeding, and then move him to a trauma center? Is it that those hospitals are completely void of any emergency care? That they couldn't even stabilize a gunshot wound? That they had to travel this kid halfway across the town? You see what I'm saying? That just doesn't seem logical to me, common sense to me. I don't know. We'll talk about that with Dr. J. And then at 4 o'clock, Vance Palm, local sports announcer who was doing the Independent Centennial game, is going to join us over the phone and tell us what he saw and experienced that horrible night Friday. And there is another football story that we're going to talk about. This kid that was kicked in the groin by a football that was kicked by his coach, who was upset at him. They were practicing for a game. They're getting ready pregame practice. And apparently the player, the victim, tackled the player during, a scrimmage, just a warm up. And the coach got upset that he tackled this kid, before a game, the day before a game. So he goes over to the kid to scream at him. What the F are you thinking? And just, to me, the audio alone is enough to get him at least suspended. High school football coaches should not be cursing at young kids. At any point, at any juncture, I don't care what the situation is. You are an adult. You are a teacher. It is tantamount to you cursing out a kid in Algebra 2. You are a teacher. That's why most high schools demand that their high school coaches aren't just walk-on ex-football players, that they actually work at the school, that they're part of the faculty. and you have the audacity to curse this kid out and then kick a football at him, hits him in the groin, the coach walks off, never even looks back to see if the player's okay. And then, as you will hear, we've got the audio. You know what his response was? Well, it was a 1 in a million shot. Are you so stupid that you think that the offense is that you kicked him in the groin, that the ball actually hit him in the groin, that you would have still had your job and it hit him in the kneecap? That you think the problem is you kicked him in the groin, not that you kicked a football player at a young student? Are you stupid? So thankfully, they summarily whacked this guy the very next day. You will hear his lame explanation as to it was 1 in a million shot. And I said I was sorry. This guy should never teach a game, ever. He should never be around kids. Please stand by. This is a good one. Oh, it's long as hell, too. I recently had a heart emergency, and my caregiver wanted to send me to Mercy downtown because it was the closest hospital. But I was told by the paramedic unit that picked me up that they wouldn't have been able to treat me at Mercy downtown because they don't have anything that could help with heart stress. But I need a medication to get my heart back in rhythm. So I went to Bakersfield Heart Hospital. So yes, not all hospitals can treat all abnormalities or things that are more complicated than what they provide in their services. I understand that. And certain hospitals have certain specialties, and heart situations should go to the heart hospital. I understand that. But shouldn't every single hospital in Kern County be able to treat a gunshot wound? Shouldn't every single hospital in Kern County be able to do some measure to stop bleeding and stabilize a patient? No, we don't do that here. We don't stabilize patients. We can't stop the bleeding. We don't have anybody here capable of that. If that's the case, that's why I'm going to bring it up with Dr. Singh. If that's the case, we's in big trouble. Because if you get shot in the southwest or the northwest, good luck, Jack. They're going to take you all the way to the northeast. Well, good luck with that. But we'll talk with Van Spahn. We'll talk about that coach. You will hear his lame excuse. The Clancy triple murder case has taken yet another twist and turn. The jury again sent home after the defense calls for a mistrial. I'll explain why. Ray Mata and Gabrielle Bustamante due in court this week. And the 5 o'clock hour is pretty much all sports. We're going to talk about the WAC WNBA and just how it's a laughable league. To call the WNBA a sports league is to call me a national voice in America. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. They're a joke. The only time we talk about the WNBA is about something that has nothing to do with actual BA basketball. And it's struck again when Natasha Cloud went after, what's his child's name? Enos Kanter Freedom, the dominant big man who now identifies as a woman and wants to be part of the WNBA. He showed up in one of their games, and mid-game, mid-play, this woman went after him in the stands. It caused a furor. They kicked him out of the stadium. And I would have been like, for what? Because I'm here? Because of my political stance? Because of my desire to identify as what are y'all against trans? That's what he should have said. Y'all against transgender people. I'm going to sue the stadium. You can't throw me out just because I'm trans and I'm 7'1" and I'm going to be the rookie of the year, the MVP, the WNBA champion, the first team all league, and I'll score 47 a night. Are you kidding? I love this. It absolutely exposes the just void in leadership in the WNBA, how it is the worst run sports business in the history of sports, and how, they still have yet to have their commissioner come out and say, look, this is what it is. Biological men cannot play in the WNBA. So I love what they're doing, and I hope that the other guy, what's the other guy's name?
Royce White.
I hope he shows up tonight.
That's what I was just about to say. They actually did come out today and outright say that Ennis and Royce cannot play in the W.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. Wanted to expose. And just that's just typical. It took this outburst at this game for the commissioner to come out and say something. It's crazy. And we got a ton of sports to talk about in that hour. Deshaun Watson has been identified as the starter for the Cleveland Browns, despite the fact that he spit in the face of the entire fan base and tried to tell them that the reason they booed him is not because he was 5 of 12 for 35 yards and a pick. No, that's not it. Not because he's bouncing balls on the ground and throwing over people's heads. No, that's not it. It's personal. You'll hear the audio from Deshaun. I think it's a perfect situation for Shedeur Sanders because I've looked at their schedule. Fortunately for Deshaun, the first 2 games are on the road because it would have been a disaster had the first game been in Cleveland. It would have been an absolute disaster. So they'll go 0-2. They play Jacksonville down there, and then they play, what's the child's name? Baker Mayfield in Florida. So they'll go 0-2. And if they go down 31-7 and 24-0, don't you have to start Shedeur in the third game at home against Carolina? Because if you thought they booed him in a preseason game, wait till they get to week 3 when they're 0-2 with no pass rush, no offense, no receivers, and they're going to send him out there game 3? Crazy, crazy, crazy. Horrible news for the Dodgers. Horrible news for the Raiders. Ashton Genty went down with a knee injury. Have they updated that at all? Have you heard anything?
I hear that it's not as serious as they
thank you,
initially
Jesus.
thought, so he should be playing. And now, again, how true that is or how quickly we see him on the field again, I do not know.
I hope you, from your lips to God's ears.
Yeah, Randy actually updated me on that one earlier.
Andy Pajes is out until probably right up until the playoffs. That is no bueno because he's the only hitting outfielder that we have. And the U.S. Open gets started this week, and it's a fun week. Have you heard what's going on in New York City?
What's happening here?
Okay, so Yannick Sinner is not playing.
I heard that.
But Carlos Alcaraz is.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he came back from his wrist injury.
Not only has he come back from his wrist injury, but he's playing mixed doubles.
Oh. Serena?
You damn Skippy.
Oh.
Is that going to be cool? Serena Williams and Carlos Alcaraz playing mixed doubles together. That, I bet you that gets almost as good a rating as the final. Because I know I'll be watching it. Carlos Alcaraz and Serena playing mixed doubles. That is cool. And then they're inducting Roger Federer into the International Hall of Fame. So they're doing an exhibition match, a doubles match between Roger Federer and Andy Roddick versus John McEnroe and Andre Agassi. That's going to be fun. So it's going to be a great week in New York to watch. Coco Gauff is just coming off a win in Cincinnati. So it'll be fun to see who shapes out with that. And as I mentioned, the Dodgers, holy Toledo, it's 318. Let's go. Dodgers are on the road. They're in Atlanta today. They have a 3-game series, starts tomorrow. And then they're off to D-Town. The D take on the Tigers, where Mr. Scooble, I believe, I'm almost certain, is scheduled to pitch against his old mates. That'll be interesting later in the week. But we'll begin with the situation at Independence High School. Dr. Jeet Singh will join us in just a matter of minutes. And then Vance Palm, very well-known, established local sports announcer for just about everything. Cal State basketball, BC football, high school football, you name it. Vance Palm is on the site. Just getting started on a Monday. It's TRBS right here on News Talk 96.1 AM 1230, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Tuesday edition of the First Look program, having just seen the effects of this drought all the way up to the Pacific Northwest, I can't wait to talk to Lois Henry about water issues right here in the San Joaquin Valley. And we will do exactly that, plus news, traffic, and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Dr. Roland Rodriguez.
Hello, this is Bakersfield General Surgeon Dr. Roland Rodriguez, client and friend of Mr. Paul Sheldon. It is my great pleasure and privilege to relate to all of you my absolute exemplary experience with Team Paul Sheldon. I have also referred a number of my colleagues to Paul Sheldon's office, only to receive the most stellar feedback from my doctor friends regarding the office's expert navigation through the complex maze that is Medicare. And even though Paul Sheldon himself is now facing some temporary health challenges, his longstanding and most experienced and expertly trained team of ladies, Christine, Kelly, and Lynn, continue to masterfully guide the clients through the complicated world of Medicare. You most definitely could not possibly do any better than to reach out to Paul Sheldon several months before turning 65. Thank you.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298. The kids of KCXC Elite are chasing big dreams, the national championships, college opportunities, and a better future. KCXC Elite is a national-level cross-country and track program that won 3 straight national titles for our community. But as the team grows, so does the need. Many talented athletes come from families that can't afford travel, gear, or entry fees. Without help, those kids risk being left behind, missing the chance to compete on the biggest stages. Coach Ryan, Stacy, and their volunteer coaches are reaching out to the community for support. Their next goal is the National Cross Country Championships in Tallahassee this December, and they need your help to get every kid there. Please donate today. Call or text Coach Ryan at 661-747-1603 or visit kcxcelite.com to learn more and give. KCXC Elite is an AAU registered affiliate. Donations may be tax deductible. All funds go directly to the athletes. Any gift helps. Let's keep a junior Olympian's dream alive.
Hey folks, this is Michael Binge, noted barbecue connoisseur for Salty's Barbecue and Catering. And I'm here with my buddy Jeff, and he's got some exciting news to tell you. You're right, we have very exciting news. We've got the new Salty's Barbecue at 3214 Coffee Road up and running. Just a little over 8 months from the time we broke ground to the time we opened the doors. And man, I tell you, this thing's exciting. We've got indoor dining. The outdoor patio is spacious and nice. We've got misters, we've got coolers. And when it gets a little cool, we've even got heaters for it. And then after all that, we top it off with a drive-through. Michael, what did you think about the building when you came in and got to see it for the first time? You know what? I turned the corner and I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Dining room was so comfortable. We are looking forward to what this new location at 3214 Coffee Road is going to do for our family and for the community. And we're just thankful to be a part of it. So come see us at our new location, 3214 Coffee Road, or at 6801 White Lane. Salty's Barbecue and Catering. You know the line. Say it with me. California grilled, Texas approved. Oh, it's good.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.
And so we had to start with this incident at Independence High School on Friday night. And, you know, again, there's several questions we'll get into with Dr. Jeet Singh, why you take somebody across town who's been shot. But the other obvious question is, how are 15-year-olds running around with guns? And to what extent do we hold the parents responsible? Because there's been a trend in this country lately. I don't know if you've been following some of these cases. I think it was out of Georgia where was it Georgia where the father had given the boy the rifle for a birthday present, and he ended up shooting up a lot of people, and they charged the father. And if you have a 15-year-old and they own a weapon and you're unaware of it, you should be held responsible. Because it's always been my belief, and again, these opinions are completely based on how I was raised. I've never raised any children, although I think I've had an influence on my 3 nephews, and I was 10 years older than my youngest sister, my late youngest sister. So, I mean, I've played a role in raising people, and I was raised correctly, so I think I can apply how I was raised. And you've got to know everything about your teenagers. And there is no privacy in the home. You know, I wish I would have ever tried to tell one of my parents, stay out of my room. Now, my sisters were another issue. They were verboten. And, you know, it just drove my parents crazy. Mom, would you tell Trace to get out of my room? Trace, get out of Ralph's room. You know, that was a call you would hear often in the Bailey home. But I would never say that to my parents. And how parents aren't sniffing around in their children's rooms is mind-boggling to me. You know, now obviously you have to, there's no pamphlet on how to raise a child. There are some children that's not necessary. That's absolutely not necessary. And there are other children who like to smoke weed as a teenager where that is necessary. Because I've told you the story of my mother finding my bong. And to this day, I don't know how that woman found this thing. I had it hidden underneath the board of a Scrabble box. You know, the Scrabble box is kind of deep. And that's the reason I hid it in there, because it could slide under the board itself. Because all of Scrabble is a board and some little tiles. So it's a big, deep box. And I had the bong in the box in the back of my closet amongst a host of Monopoly, Sorry, you know, I had a bunch of board games. That's what we did in the 70s. Board games were huge when I was growing up. And how my mother got in the back of my closet to the very last game and reached in there and found it. And I told you what she did with it. She stuffed it on the damn kitchen table for me to find as I got home. And you talk about panic. Do I throw it away? Do I pretend that it just dropped from Mars and I've never seen it before? It certainly isn't Patrice's. She's 12. And it ain't Tina's. She's 2. And it's probably not Dad's. So I'm screwed. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the way you have to raise children. Now, if your child is absolutely not in any kind of trouble and is getting A's and is home on time, it's not necessary. But this child, this 15-year-old, I'm assuming, didn't fall under that category. Was a troubled child, was gang affiliated, and absolutely his parents should be held responsible. Now, if we find out more, obviously it's way early. And as I always remind you guys, 72 hours after an incident like that, we don't know bupkis. And the cops know a lot, but they're not going to tell you until they know all. So the information is sketchy. So any speculation that I make is sketchy. And if it turns out that they're good parents and that this kid was just out of control, maybe. But at 15, come on. You have a responsibility to make sure that your child doesn't throw away his life as this child has. He's done. He's through. And I should mention, the victim has been identified as Levi Jermaine Carter. Oh, Lord. Hang on. I can't read my damn writing. Oh, do you have the Brown? I believe that's Brown. God, I should not speculate. Levi Jermaine Carter Brown. And there is a vigil at Independent High School tonight at 6:30 if you would like to attend. But again, this is just inexplicable. I'm sure you know the facts as well as I on this thing. The police released a picture of the 15-year-old victim. It was a horrible picture of him in handcuffs with his back to the camera. And that he was gang affiliated and that these two knew one another and it was a isolated incident. But, it caused quite a bit of chaos on the campus of Independence High School. Friday night. And as I said, at 4 o'clock, we're going to talk with Vance Palm, local sports announcer who was there that night, and he'll give us his version of what he saw. From what I understand, as they were doing the broadcast, he heard the shots and then saw the multitudes running for cover. I heard a child on KGT said they were jumping fences, people's homes. They were so scared. You imagine? We are off to Centric Health to talk to the finest cardiologist in the land. Dr. Jeet Singh joins us next. Don't go anywhere.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Supreme Court is siding with the Trump administration in a case over President Trump's executive order restricting mail-in voting, though it remains unclear how much can be implemented before the fast-approaching midterm elections. The U.S. Postal Service laid out its plan for implementing the order last week, but time is running short to impose major changes. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has announced a new round of sanctions aimed at Iran. At a news conference Monday, he also warned every country that does business with the Islamic Republic to sever those financial ties or face retaliation from the United States. The sanctions aim to further cut off Iran from the rest of the world economy. On Wall Street, the Dow by 140 points, the Nasdaq dropped 200, the S&P lower by 21. More details at srnnews.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN newsroom.
I'm Bob Archer. Bakersfield police are still working with the Kern High School District on possible security changes after Friday night's deadly shooting at Independence High School. Police Chief Brent Stratton says options such as metal detectors and security wands are worth talking about before upcoming football games. A 15-year-old boy has been arrested in the killing of 17-year-old Levi Jermaine Carter Brown. A proposed Costco in Northwest Bakersfield is drawing mixed reactions from nearby homeowners. Plans call for a Costco, a gas station, restaurants, and other businesses near 7th Standard Road and Callaway Drive. Some people in the Gossamer Grove neighborhood say they like having more shopping nearby, but others worry about traffic, noise, and crime. Bakersfield stays above 100 this afternoon with the heat advisory continuing through Wednesday night. I'm Bob Archer in the Kern newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
In 2026, Bay Alarm celebrates 80 years of security. For the Central Valley, that means local service including burglar and fire alarm systems, 24/7 in-house monitoring, and custom security designed to work with business operations. Bay Alarm has real people rooted in your community looking out for your business. After 8 decades and 3 generations of family ownership, our promise is still the same. We got you. Learn more at bayalarm.com.
In Kern County, Valley fever affects more than 3,000 people each year. But together, we can change that. Join Kern County Public Health as a Valley Fever ambassador. You don't need medical experience, just a willingness to help your community stay informed. Neighbors sharing with neighbors. Coworkers looking out for each other. Be part of the solution by signing up for a 30-minute virtual training. Visit KernPublicHealth.com to learn more.
Maxwell in the morning. Good till the last mic drop.
Cam Newton, he claims that there were players, coaches, and execs that told people that they got the COVID shot, but they really didn't. And he was defending Aaron Rodgers over his recent statements on ESPN. What Cam Newton is saying is that he has a right to be upset just because he didn't get this COVID shot, because there are those people who didn't get the shot either.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving.
It's a Monday, so we are headed over to Centric Health to talk with the finest cardiologist in the land, Dr. Jeet Singh. How are you?
Ralph.
Outstanding, sir. Thank you. Want to begin with what everybody's talking about, obviously, is this unfortunate shooting at Independence High School. And before I get to the question, I understand, and my father told me this when I first moved here, that KMC may not be the finest hospital in Kern County or in Bakersfield, but it's the best trauma place in Kern County. If you're shot, if you're stabbed, you want to go to KMC. So I understand that. But it would seem to me that if I'm shot in the Southwest, that it would make more sense to get me to a local hospital quicker, stabilize me, maybe try to stop the bleeding, and then get me to a trauma center. I don't understand how, that's a good, let's say, 15-minute drive. And I think I'm giving, a little more time than a little less time than it actually takes. But 15 minutes from the Southwest to the Northeast. Explain that to me.
Your question is quite valid, but here is the issue. When the ambulance receives a patient with gunshot wound, it is obviously categorized, and as they are taught and they are supposed to respond, it's designated as like a trauma designation. And it's not simply a distance, but it's a penetrating gunshot wound. So obviously it is a potentially life-threatening. And the only way you can stabilize is taking immediately patient to a surgical center where they can act in the OR. That's the issue.
And is KMC the only surgical unit in this town that can take care of a gunshot wound?
Yeah, trauma center, yeah.
Wow.
Actually, you'll be amazed. From Los Angeles to Fresno, it's the only one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That is crazy. And none of the other hospitals have the ability to just even stabilize a patient, gunshot victim?
Because sometimes you need multiple people. It's known as like a trauma surgeon. And trauma surgeons are equipped with the techniques, the way they respond, and way they stabilize. So anytime you have gunshot wounds, you will see in the news they were taken to Kern Medical. That's why.
Yeah, that's amazing to me. Although it shouldn't be, because I learned when I had to have my jaw surgery that there's only one physician in this town that does that.
Yeah.
That is astonishing to me. And it must be great business for the doctor, but I guess that's neither here nor there. Anything that you want to talk about, because that pretty much ends my that discussion. I thought we could go deeper with that, but what are the chances? I mean, so many times we see. I mean, if you're shot in the upper torso, can you survive that at all? I mean, we saw Tupac Shakur last for about 6 days. Is it just a matter of luck and not hitting internal organs, obviously?
Yes. So basically, the chance of your survival depends where was the wound penetrating. Unfortunately, if it's in the heart or in the aorta or any bigger vessel, the chances are bleak it won't.
And what are the EMTs doing as they take him cross town? Do they have the ability to stop the bleeding? What are they doing? I mean, they can't clamp off arteries, can they?
No, they can't, because you don't know where the gunshot is and exactly at what level of penetration. And patients can get even like tension pneumothorax. So it's hard. Unless you can do the basic stuff, like you can provide oxygen, IV fluids to maintain the blood pressure and the oxygenation level. But that's like a basic ambulance wherever it goes, whether it goes to Mercy Southwest, it goes to Memorial or Specialty Bakersfield, anywhere. They will only have basic things to stabilize.
Yeah. It's so sad, so senseless.
It is.
And
it's
ridiculous.
A very unfortunate thing.
Yeah. I guess I should conclude with my favorite topic, and of course that's Ralph Emerson Bailey Jr. I have a big doctor's appointment coming up on Monday with my urologist, where, again, and you've heard the story, the listeners have heard the story, but I'll go over it again, where my PSA jumped, not dramatically in terms of the number, but dramatically in terms of the time that it jumped from a 2.6 to a 3.4. And I was put on antibiotics that brought it down, but my GP, Hemocotri, wanted to double check, and it jumped back up to a 4.3. That's when I went and saw the urologist. He said, let's take a look at it in a couple of months. Those couple of months are up. I'm taking a blood test tomorrow, and I have an appointment on Monday with a current PSA of 4.3. How dramatically does my PSA have to jump? And I know this isn't your specialty, but I'll ask nevertheless. How dramatically do you think my PSA has to jump from 4.3 before we have to do something about this?
There is no absolute number. Obviously, the things get scary if it's definitely above 10, but it needs to be investigated, especially after antibiotic treatment. Because if you are giving antibiotics, a response should occur 48 hours and after. So one has to repeat and see if urine analysis and urine culture and do a complete urology evaluation. If PSA remains like around 4 to 6, then it's recommended to get an MRI of the prostate and calculate what we call as a PSA density using prostate volume. So all those studies are done under the supervision of a urologist.
Yeah. I've already had an MRI. Dr. Cothry ordered an MRI. My urologist said it was probably too soon to do that, but nevertheless. So you're saying if I go in there Monday and it says my PSA is 5.5, 6.1, they would have another MRI?
MRI targeted biopsy is usually the next step.
Yeah.
MRI targeted or a systematic biopsy, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
And there are other things they do like percentage free PSA to see the fraction of it. But at some point, they will talk to you of doing a biopsy in these cases.
Walk me through that procedure, the biopsy.
The biopsy itself is obviously invasive procedure. So anytime you do it, it has to be done under anesthesia. It doesn't have to be generalized anesthesia. It can be local anesthesia. But basically, they have to, if they're using MRI, then obviously it is MRI. Put the needle and take the tissue and fluid and see what the things look accordingly.
Is it painful?
It's painful if obviously they don't like you, but usually if they like you, I mean, it is not painful.
Well, I have a pretty good relationship with my urologist, so I'm happy to hear that. Then. That's good news.
Yeah, I'll recommend you to be cordial to him. Don't be Ralph.
Yeah. Well, there's a joke there, but I'm not going to touch it, Dr. J. I'm not going to touch it. All right, sir. Always great to talk to you. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
I think that's a good topic to touch, but everything else is good. Maybe next time we should talk about vaccination. About patients have again started asking about flu vaccines and COVID as the season.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's that time again. September, right? Yeah, that's always when I get my flu shots. September. Yeah.
So I said, yeah, go ahead with it. But in general, her question was whether she can have it together because she wanted to take it. So I said there is no contraindication. You can actually have it in the same arm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Always good to talk to you, Dr. Singh. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Jeet Singh. One place that can take care of you if you're shot. You better hope you're shot at East High School, Jack. I shouldn't have said that. Quick time out. Vance Palm is going to join us at the top of the hour. He was at Independence High School the night of the shooting, calling the ball game for us. Then there's another twist and turn in the Lindsay Clancy triple murder case. We'll delve into that. Talk a lot of sports in the 5 o'clock hour. Talk about the WNBA, the Raiders, the Cleveland Browns, the U.S. Open. Wyndham Clark got another win over the weekend and a bizarre ending of the FedEx Cup. Delve into that and a whole lot more. And a tribute to a man most of you have never heard of, but in Black culture, Michael Wright was a well-known actor, musician, and part of a movie that, again, remember we got in that thing when I was talking with Teresa Golden, I said, well, it's a black film. You've never seen it. Well, he was part of an epic black film that's part of our culture that I'd be willing to bet 80% of African Americans have seen. It's called The Five Heartbeats. It was a picture that was written and produced and directed by Robert Townsend. And it's a film that basically follows the beginning of, say, The Temptations or The Spinners. But this is a fictional group, obviously, The Five Heartbeats. And it tells the backstage story of a group of guys, whether it's the Beatles or the Who or the Rolling Stones, and how they get along and how they grow and how eventually just about all of them break up. Just about all of them. It's a classic motion picture. Tell you a little bit about the life and times of Michael Wright, who passed away at the age of 70. In the meantime, we'll check the board, see what you all are talking about. You'll hear some audio from Adam Brubaker. He is the former coach of Royal High School in Simi Valley, the coach that infamously kicked a football into the groin of one of his players and was thus summarily fired. Wait till you hear this lame audio from this idiot. Quick time out. We're coming right back. It's TRBS on a Monday, right here on News Talk 96.1 AM 1230, streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. First Look with Scott Cox, mornings 6 to 9 a.m.
There was a hit and run at 3:06 this morning on Wheeler Ridge Road. I drove last week the entire western seaboard of this country, pretty much from one end to the highest, furthest up you can go. There's nothing to compare this town to in this county. There's just not.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
On BritBox, your next hidden gem is right around the corner.
Two things. One, did you want the audio of the coach cussing out the player?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Just the audio.
Yeah, just him like his apology and all that type of stuff.
And those first two where they separate them, those are two different bites.
Yes. Yeah, I got those. But and then two, oh gosh dang it, I forgot. Oh, when did you want to do the right thing?
Michael Wright?
Yeah.
Um,
You just want me to willy-nilly play it and then you'll go into it? Or did you have a specific time you wanted to do this?
We'll just use it as a bite. I don't want to use it as music.
Oh, okay,
We'll
okay.
just use it as a bite.
Okay. I thought you wanted that as intro music.
No.
Now, all beds are on sale during our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe, plus free delivery on any mattress. Ends Monday, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist. I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. and happy 50th.
The kids of KCXC Elite are chasing big dreams, the national championships, college opportunities, and a better future. KCXC Elite is a national level cross-country and track program that won 3 straight national titles for our community. But as the team grows, so does the need. Many talented athletes come from families that can't afford travel, gear, or entry fees. Without help, those kids risk being left behind, missing the chance to compete on the biggest stages. Coach Ryan, Stacy, and their volunteer coaches are reaching out to the community for support. Their next goal is the National Cross Country Championships in Tallahassee this December, and they need your help to get every kid there. Please donate today. Call or text Coach Ryan at 661-747-1603 or visit kcxcelite.com to learn more and give. KCXC Elite is an AAU registered affiliate. Donations may be tax deductible. All funds go directly to the athletes. Any gift helps. Let's keep a junior Olympian's dream alive.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Have you guys ever seen All the Right Moves? You ever seen that picture? It's a Tom Cruise movie with Craig T. Nelson. Speaking of Craig T. Nelson, did you see that Shelley Fabre passed away over the weekend at the age of 82? She began on the Donna Reed show, which I don't remember, but my mother claims that I had a huge crush on Donna Reed because I asked my mother apparently if I could marry Donna Reed. I would hear that story time and time again as I was growing up. I don't remember that. I don't even remember the Donna Reed show. But apparently Shelley Fabre was young on that. And she was really well known as a youngster for really old people like me as a often love interest of Elvis's in the series of horrible 60s Elvis movies. She's in Clambake. She's in, I forget the one where she's the daughter of a gangster and Elvis's band works for the gangster. And his daughter is going to Fort Lauderdale for spring break. So the gangster hires Elvis and his band to book in Fort Lauderdale and to look after his daughter. And of course, it's Elvis and a young, beautiful Shelley Fabre. You don't have to figure out the plot. And it's an Elvis movie, so you don't have to figure out the plot.
Spin Out?
No, that's the one with Bill Bixby. That's the one where he's a race car driver. Is she in that too?
She is, yes.
She's in like 3 of them.
They Ride the Wild Surf?
No, what about Clambake? Is Clambake the one where he plays she plays the gangster's daughter?
No, wait, I'm sorry.
I don't think so. I think that's the one where he pretends that he's poor, but he's actually the son of a rich oil guy.
Well, the young man wants to experience life outside of his privileged upbringing. Yeah,
that's Clambake. Well, anyway, there's another one where I forget what it's called, but she's in that. She was well known for that. And then, of course, most of you know her as, or some of the older, not so old, like 40s and 50-year-olds may know her from Coach with Craig T. Nelson, the series. She played his wife a long time. And if you're really old and you have a movie memory like I do, you remember that she was Brian Piccolo's wife in Brian's Song, opposite James Caan, who played Brian Piccolo, and Billy D. Williams played Gail Sayers in a great made-for-television picture called Brian's Song. The true story of Brian Piccolo, who was a running back out of Wake Forest and got drafted by the Bears, just his dumb luck. He gets drafted the very same year on the very same team with not arguably, one of the greatest running backs of all time. And they formed this friendship. They were the first white-black backfield in the NFL and the first white-black roommates on an NFL football team. And they made an unbelievable made-for-TV movie. A lot of people don't remember that. They think it was either a motion picture or something. No, it was made for TV. It was on ABC. It was a Friday night. I remember it vividly. And it's a great, great picture. But what was I talking about? Craig T. Nelson.
You're talking about the lady who passed away from the Donna Reed show?
Yeah, but before that, I segued into that, but I was talking about Craig T. Nelson. Oh, All the Right Moves.
All right, that's right.
And I brought that up because it's a motion picture about a coach back in the day. Because I'm leading up to this Adam Brubaker idiot who kicked a football at this kid. Back in the day, if you're my age, if you're over 55, you know what I'm talking about. And you played football, you probably had a coach grab your face mask and wing your head with it. What is the matter with you? We had Glenn Beatty, who I could not stand, who was a screamer. And just like in All the Right Moves, he would bring out a 5-iron to practice that he would swing. And it would be nothing for him to bop you on the head of your helmet with his 5-iron. With the bottom of the club, not the handle. Hit you on the head. So we understand the times have changed because back in the 20th century, coaches could do anything they wanted to you, basically. I mean, I saw some stuff, grabbing kids' helmets, pushing kids, cursing kids out, but that's changed. And I thought coaching had evolved to, essentially you are a teacher. You are a teacher. You're trying to teach, 95% of the kids that you're coaching are never going to play again. And maybe 10% of them play college and maybe 2% of them get paid. Well, now you get paid at college, but you know what I'm saying. Make it to the NFL. So you are a teacher. And this is a rare experience for these kids who after senior in high school are never going to put football pads on again. Here is Adam Brubaker explaining why he was so upset at this young man.
And I kicked the ball and I hit him in the groin area. And instantly, I felt like I was going to pass out.
That's just not true, coach. You walked away from the kid and you were still cursing. We can't even play the audio, the natural audio that they picked up from what he was saying to the kids. This is what he did. He kicked the ball, hits the kid collapses, and he walks away. And he's still cursing as he's walking away. You didn't feel any remorse, or you would have went to the kid and be like, "Oh, dude, I'm sorry. You okay? This is one of your students." And listen to this explanation.
Obviously, a great deal of remorse for what happened. It's a 1 in a million shot.
Coach, the fact that the football hit him in the groin has got nothing to do with this. It's the idea that you actually kicked a football at a student. If it had hit him in the big toe, you would have still been summarily fired. Now, obviously, what drew attention to this is the kid collapsed. The kid actually collapsed on the field. If you've not seen the video, you're probably the only one. Go Google this, Royal High School in Simi Valley. The coach's name is Adam Brubaker. The kid collapses. And fortunately, there were other adults who didn't really rush to the kid, but at least they came to his aid. Now his teammates rushed to the kid. And they're looking around like, "Hey, he's injured. What the hell is going on?" And what those kids should have done, and thankfully they didn't have to because they whacked him, they should have walked off the field. They should have said, "I'm not playing for you." They really should have. I hope that young students understand the responsibilities that these adults have and how far they can go. I would never play for a coach like that. You kick me in the balls with a football, and you don't even have the audacity to just say, "Oh my God, didn't mean to do that." I got bounced with Dr. Selnick. We had a walk-on who was a physician when I was going to Brentwood. We were at practice one day, and it wasn't even about me. I was just standing next to him. It was Ted Shumway, actually. We ran this back pick play that Ted could never run. He always tried to run in front of the pick, which made no sense. And Selznick, or whatever his name was, slammed the basketball on the ground, and it bounced and hit me in the face. And his immediate response was, "Ralph, you all right? I'm sorry about that." "Ted, what's the matter with you? Go behind the screen." But his first response, it wasn't really like, you okay, we're going to take you to the hospital. But his first response was to turn to me and be like, oh, my bad. Are you all right? That's why I don't think there's any remorse by this guy. He kicks this kid. The kid collapses, and he walks off, still cursing in the air. You lost your mind? He should never, ever be allowed to be around children. Ever. It was 1 in a million shot. If I'd hit him in the kneecap, I'd still be here. No, probably not. Probably not. Because hopefully the teammates would have gone to the coach or his parents would have gone to the school and said, you know, your football coach kicked a football at my child. We head into the 4. We're going to revisit Friday night's horrible shooting at Independence High School. Local sports announcer Vance Palm, who was calling the game for the current high school district, is going to walk us through the night right after these important words.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN. 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced a new campaign against Iran.
It's called Operation Economic Outcast.
An economic onslaught against Iran's financial connections around the globe.
Bessent says every country that tethers itself to Iran should expect to share in its isolation.
Every country has a defined timeline to shut down activities we have identified.
Iran warned it would respond harshly to new sanctions. Its currency has hit a record low, but Iran retains a key strategic advantage: its attacks and threats on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Ed Donahue, Washington.
President Trump will re-implement 50% tariffs on imports from Canada into the United States in January, saying the U.S. did not need its neighbor. Trade Representative Jameson Greer says the new Canada tariffs cover 0.06% of U.S. consumption, and the vast majority of goods that American small businesses trade in are made in the USA or they're duty-free.
This is something where we don't actually expect a huge impact. I mean, the Canadian situation may be different for them. I know they view it differently, of course, and that's fine. But for the U.S. small business, for the U.S. manufacturer, for the U.S. worker, this is a way for us actually to try to get wine and spirits back on the shelves in Canada. It's a way to make sure that our small dairy farmers who have had very limited access into Canada for a long time. So we're actually worried about our small businesses to make sure they get the kind of access they need.
The Supreme Court is siding with the Trump administration in a case over President Trump's executive order restricting mail-in voting, though it remains unclear how much can be implemented before the fast-approaching midterm elections. On Wall Street, the Dow by 140 points, the NASDAQ dropped 200. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Progressive knows that for business owners, vacations hit different. But hey, at least you finally took a vacation. And look at that. You only answered 53 calls, 84 emails, onboarded 1 new hire, and covered for Chris while he's out on paternity leave, and you did it all from a kayak. Because you, my friend, know how to relax. All right, you may not know how to take a day off, but you do know both your personal and business auto insurance needs can be covered in one place with Progressive. So at least that's relaxing, right? Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states or situations.
Only on Salem Now, featuring one of Charlie Kirk's final interviews. The new documentary, Can You Hear Me Now?, investigates modern prophets and their divine messages.
Some people absolutely have the gift of prophecy. If God exists, how would he inject his information into our world? More than likely, he would use humans. Satan would love Christians to just be a spectator, not engage, not participate. Is there something he's trying to say?
Can You Hear Me Now? Pre-order the movie by September 10th. Save 25% and get the DVD free at salemnow.com.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Bakersfield Police and the Kern High School District are talking about tighter security at football games after Friday night's deadly shooting at Independence High School. I'm Rob Archer. The victim has now been identified as 17-year-old Levi Jermaine Carter Brown of Bakersfield. Police say Brown was shot during a fight on basketball courts next to the football stadium while the Independence Centennial game was underway. A 15-year-old boy was arrested Saturday on suspicion of murder and participation in a criminal street gang. Police Chief Brent Stratton says the victim and suspect knew each other and the shooting was not random. Stratton says BPD has been talking with the school district about security for games coming up this Friday. That could include discussions about metal detectors, security wands, and additional staffing, although no changes have been announced yet. A proposed Costco in Northwest Bakersfield is getting mixed reviews from people who live nearby. Plans call for the store, a gas station, restaurants, and other businesses near 7th Standard Road and Callaway Drive. Some people in the Gossamer Grove neighborhood say they like the idea of having Costco closer to home, but others say they worry about traffic, noise, and crime directly across from their neighborhood. The project still has to go through environmental review and city approval. The heat staying with us this afternoon. A heat advisory is in effect across the southern San Joaquin Valley through Wednesday night. Bakersfield could reach around 104 to 106 today. The National Weather Service says the heat risk will be moderate, especially for people without reliable cooling or enough water. Temperatures should stay in the low 100s tomorrow and Wednesday before dropping closer to 100 Thursday and into the upper 90s by Friday. I'm Rob Archer in the Kern newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
To the rest of in a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's going to give you what you want. Too late. They start shooting in a week. I'm going to make them an offer he can't refuse.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this Monday, 24th day of August. This is the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com and on YouTube. Coming up bottom of the hour, another twist and turn in the triple murder case of Lindsay Clancy, the mother accused of killing her 3 children. We'll tell you about that and why the jury was sent home early, as we're expecting closing arguments as early as Monday, certainly no later than Tuesday. And coming up at the 5, we're going to talk a lot of sports. We'll talk about the Natasha Cloud, Enos Kanter freedom controversy, where just everything about the WNBA we talk about has nothing to do with the players or the quality of play or the playoffs. It all has to do with off-court nonsense and whose political stance is this and that and this and that. Then we'll talk about Deshaun Watson, who was declared the number 1 starter for the Cleveland Browns, and his basically spitting in the face of the entire Cleveland fan base after his 5 of 12 for 35 yards performance the other day. I don't know about that. And it's U.S. Open week with some really fun events going on where Carlos Alcaraz is back, Jannik Sinner is out, and Carlos Alcaraz and Serena Williams are playing mixed doubles together. And as I said at the top of the show, that could get almost as high a rating as the final. That's going to be fun to watch. But in the meantime, we've got to revisit the horrible night Friday where a 17-year-old Levi Jermaine Carter Brown was shot and killed by a 15-year-old. Again, there is a vigil tonight at 6:30 at Independence High School for the young 17-year-old. But in the meantime, the voice of sports in general in this town and founder of Lone Palm Media, entering his 28th season of calling local sports at every single level, is our good friend Vance Palm. Vance, thanks for joining us this Monday. Appreciate it, man.
Ralph, good to be with you, Ralph. Thank you.
Hey, man, tell us, just kind of walk us through what happened. You were calling a ball game. Did you actually and your crew actually hear the shots?
Yeah, we did, Ralph. We had just started the football game. Ironically enough, we're having a bit of a technical glitch getting exactly started at kickoff. We were working through it. Sometimes the Wi-Fi out there in the field isn't exactly perfect, so we were working through the technical glitch. So we were a minute and a half into the game so far, and we were still not on. So myself and my partner Rich Cornford, we had that kind of grimacing, aggravated look, like let's go, let's get it going. And then right before we were about to go on, I did hear, personally, Ralph, I heard just one pop. Now we all know it was more than one, but I heard one. And having done this for a lot of years in a lot of different venues, I just wasn't immediately struck by, any kind of factual thing like, wow, what's going on here? But then, and so my eyes went back to the field because we're still just about to come on technically. So I was getting ready to really lock in. And about that moment, everybody just started running from the south side of the complex, just heading north towards the aquatic center and D-Tech, just everyone. I mean, and when I say everyone except for the parents or family members that were running south to go get any little kids that they'd sent to the concession stand. So there's just wave of humanity going from my right to left, south to north. So that's kind of how everything started.
Wow, that is amazing. Did you know immediately or have a thought that it was a possible mass shooting?
Not mass, and not once the wave of people started running, I figured it's one of two things. It's either false alarm or it's the real deal. It took about 15 seconds for the hall ambulance to, if you think about it, Ralph, at a high school competition, there's an ambulance there. So it took that ambulance maybe 15 seconds before it started going down the track towards the south. So that's when I realized, okay, they're not sending an ambulance over there if something didn't happen. And then I'm here to tell you, Ralph, within 3 minutes, there were cop cars coming in from all four directions. And then that's when everybody knew something had gone down.
Yeah. Were you frightened for your own safety or crew or people in the booth? Was everybody just because you didn't know what was going on? That's probably the scariest thing.
Well, we're up top. We're not in the booth. We do our live streaming from on top of the very top of the booth. We're exposed outside, and I'm 6'5", and I'm no longer very slender. So I was up there kind of going, what's happening? So, yeah, I sat down, and our director, Julian, was already sitting down, and Coach Cornford had a seat. And so we did sit down on the second or two. And I personally didn't have fear wasn't striking in me as much as, overall major concern for the little ones, the young ones. That's where my concern was, man. There's a lot of kids floating around in this area.
Yeah. Talking with Vance Palm, the Dean of Local Announcing here in Kern County. You're a parent. You've got a slew of children that you've raised very, very well. How responsible should we hold the parents for a 15-year-old child on a Friday night running around a football game with a pistol?
Well, it's impossible to detach the DNA, the family tree, from the perpetrator. That's impossible. So there is some connection there, of course, the obvious one. There's just so much to read into this, Ralph, and you've heard it all weekend. I've heard it all weekend. There's a lot of finger pointing going on right now. It's unfortunate, but it's reality. There are some 15-year-olds all over the world that are doing things their parents don't know about.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to garnishing a weapon, and now we see the arrests that have been taking place, there's been a lot of weapons available to these kids. They're just doing, they're not every parent is aware of every last aspect of their children's behavior.
Right.
Conversely, of course, more integration with their day-to-day life and, more FaceTime with them. And if you're there to apply that divine, loving discipline, boy, it can sure go a long ways. But I'm not sure, and I'm not certain that that's been, part of the recipe there.
Yeah, I was talking about this at the top of the show. I just think the parent should be more intrusive. I think you should be, and obviously this is relative. If your child's getting straight A's and they come home on time and you know all their friends and all their friends come from good families, this isn't necessary. But if you've got a child that's kind of on the brink, you don't really like his friends, they're not doing that well in school, the boop, 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 you should be like snooping around. You should be reading what they're doing. You should be searching their rooms to be blind. Did it. My parents snooped around my room, and I wish I would have told them, stay out of my room. You know what I'm saying? You have to actively, particularly if you've got a child in trouble. And clearly this kid had to be, if he's running around with a pistol in his waist, you've got to be intrusive in a child's life. I'm not sure if the 21st century parent is doing that.
Well, you're speaking to the son of an Air Force fighter pilot, and then he became a pastor, my dad. So I was very much held accountable to a high degree. And Ralph, I had a lot of other great male mentors in that environment as well.
Yeah.
To your point you're making, boy, it's a salient point with regards to, and I know we hear it, I know we see it, and I'm talking friend to friend, Ralph, Vance to Ralph here, that the lack of a father figure or a positive father figure or a positive role model is, this isn't just me saying it, it's proven around the planet with as many surveys and as many studies as your mind can handle.
Yeah.
The lack of a positive male influence can really wreak havoc. And I don't want to just, throw that out that that's the only thing, but it plays a role, no question.
Huge role. Absolutely. Talking with Vance Palm, the local dean of sports announcing here in Kern County. Final, I'll leave you with this. You said a lot of finger pointing going on. Have you been able to talk with parents or folks involved with Independence or even Centennial High School, and who are they pointing at? Who are they blaming? Are they blaming the school? Are they blaming parents? Who are they blaming for this?
I personally have not spoken with anyone today. We all kind of just, I had to go back out there Saturday to get my truck. My vehicle was in the crime area, so I could not take it out Friday night. I had to wait and go back and get it. It was literally, Ralph, right next to my truck where all this went down, so I had to go get it Saturday. And there was a large group of individuals and parents kind of cleaning up and getting done. That's the only time I've seen anyone related to this. Haven't spoken to anyone except some of my close friends in the media, some of my own personal cronies, but haven't spoken to anyone of authority in this whole thing. I believe most of the things you're pointing that I'm picking up on, it was on the social and it's geared towards the parents.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Well, it's a tragic situation. Do you know the future of Independence High School football?
Well, the first thing I started getting questions on was, okay, when do the metal detectors come in? When do the wands and when do these preventative measures start to come in? I listened to the police chief's interview today with a local television station, and he said, look, whatever the public wants, whatever the district brings to us, we're going to support that. So I believe there's some decisions that are going to have to be made, on different levels of decision-making power. But I think there'll be a change in the approach. There's going to have to be, Ralph. I mean, again, from Vance to Ralph, there's going to have to be some changes. My buddy Trevor Horn was up at a game last Thursday night in Fresno, and he was going to the BHS Clovis game and had to walk through a metal detector. And he says, wow, I've never seen this before. And the lady at the Clovis stadium says, yep, that's in, and they're staying for good. So I don't think it's that far away, and it's not out of the realm of reality. That's what we're going to see soon.
Yeah, let me leave you with one more, and I'll let you go. I don't want to hold you too long. But you said it happened near your truck. So it happened in the parking lot? Was it anywhere near? I mean, would a metal detector would have helped, or was it outside the stadium? Where exactly was it on campus?
This is all public knowledge now, because it's all out there. You can see it, and it's everywhere. Where the actual first encounter and shot took place was inside. It was definitely inside. It was near the south gate entrance where the band marches through.
Right.
And there's security there, and there's an actual someone from Independence High School there, and it was actually locked when I went to show up to do the game. So they had to unlock and let me in because I had my lanyard. So there was security there, and there was a person there, but it was at the very tip of the south part of the stadium where the band marches through. And so, they have those big xylophones and all of that, so they use that gate. Well, when the shot happened, the first shot happened, all of the bad guys then ran south and they squeezed through. It was kind of it wasn't tightly locked. It was locked, but they squeezed through and then ran out in the parking lot. Well, the guy with the gun caught the other kid right next to my truck, and that's when the additional shots were fired right out in the parking lot. So to answer your question about a metal detector, they would have had to get into the game through the regular entrance.
Okay.
But the altercation took place in the south part of the field, and then they scurried out in between the gates to get out, and then it traveled into the school area. That's to answer your earlier question, that's when I really knew something was up, because there was probably 10 to 12 police vehicles inside the campus. So I said, all right, something's happening here that's not good.
Yeah. Wow. Horrible night. Such a senseless act. 2 lives and 2 families ruined. It's really sad. Vance, always great to talk to you. Keep up the great work in terms of sports here in this town, and I appreciate you taking time coming on the program.
Always here for you, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. Vance Palm, really good guy. Talented announcer. Does everything. Cal State basketball, BC football, high school football. I think he even dabbles in some baseball. And a pretty good athlete. Pretty damn good athlete. Quick timeout. We'll check the board, see what you all are talking about. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll get into the triple murder trial of Lindsay Clancy. It's taken yet another twist as we get ready for closing arguments and get this thing to a jury. I'll update you on that. And then coming up in the 5, we'll talk about the WNBA. The National Football League is set to get underway. Really, really excited about that. The Dodgers are on a little heater, beating up some bad teams, sweeping the Pirates and who'd they play before the Pirates when we first got home? The Rockies? No. We beat up on Kansas City. We swept the Royals at home, swept the Pirates at home. Now they're in the place of my birth, taking on the Braves tomorrow for 3. And then they go to the D. Take on the Tigers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 2.5 games. No, wait. I think we are four games up on Atlanta and 7 games up on Chicago. But look out for the Phillies, who are on a 9-game heater. They were down 4-0 with 2 outs and came back and won when Kyle Townsend, Ron Townsend's son from the Fifth Dimension.
I'm just going to say the man's name because it's goddamn good. The man's the best bomber hitter.
With 2 strikes and 2 outs, Schwarberger hit a 2-run home run to dead center. Down 4-0 with 2 outs.
It's Philly baseball, baby.
I was wondering, did they bring in Edwin Diaz? Googly moogly. Meantime, Tyler Scott got a save this weekend in the second sweep of our home series. We're going to have to live and die with Tanner Scott, one way or the other. We have to live and die with the guy. We'll check the board when we come back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Monday, right here on News Talk 96.1 AM 1230, streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM.
Messmaker?
In the morning, good till the last mic drop.
You do know the misnomer on that. When they say it's a greenhouse gas, they're not talking about how if you have a greenhouse, that inside the greenhouse, because of the growth of the plants or anything, that you have a concentration of carbon dioxide. It's a greenhouse gas because they know if they pump carbon dioxide into a greenhouse, things grow better. So you learned something today.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Every Thursday at 4:30, Daniel Petrie joins us from Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors to get us updated on the deficit and silver and gold and any questions that you might have about retirement. And it'll be an interesting discussion this Thursday when we talk about the news from today, where Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, announced that we are going to apply sanctions on any country that deals with Iran, trying to stifle them economically. We'll talk to Mr. Petrie on Thursday about, is that feasible? Are our allies going to cut off any negotiations with Iran if they're getting oil or whatever it may be? And of course, you know what they're all about at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors, all about retirement. If you're contemplating that, call them today at 395-9400, 395-9400. Otherwise, tune in this Thursday, 4:30, when Daniel Petrie joins us from Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice or a solicitation for advisory services by Daniel Petrie or MPWA Incorporated, DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. The program host is a client and receives compensation and other financial benefits in connection with this advertisement, creating a conflict of interest. Experiences discussed may not be representative of other clients.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day. No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Carpet Outlet Plus is proud to support Condors hockey. One lucky fan will take a shot at $1,000 in the red carpet shootout at select home games. If your floors look like they're going into overtime, Carpet Outlet Plus is the place for you to score a hat trick. New floors, carpet, and customary rugs will put you back in the win column. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
842-5376-842-KERN. We haven't checked the board yet. What do you got? You'll never find.
You can't blame the parents for what some kid does or get a gun if they didn't buy it for him.
I don't think so. I disagree with that. I think you should know. If your child is running around with a pistol, that means he's bringing it home. That means it's somewhere in your house. And if your child is running around this town with a pistol in his waist, this ain't his first rodeo. And according to the police, this kid was gang affiliated. So they know that they knew, the parents, or they should have known, that they had an issue in their home. They should have known. If the cops knew this kid was a gang member, you're telling me that the parents have no responsibility to know that he's a gang member? You're honestly telling me that if you had a gang member living in your house, you would have no clue? Because that couldn't have happened at 6141 Bedford or 1600 Via Barcelona or 17409 Caliente, Cerritos, California. That could not have happened. If I was so in trouble that I was part of a gang, you better know that Ralph and Harriet would have known what I was doing. And you better know that I would have been shipped off to boarding school, or they would have washed my hands of me and said, look, you're going to go to jail soon and don't call us. You are gangbanging and we are aware of that. And you have two options. You're either going to go to prison or you're going to die. It's insane. It is mind-boggling to me that anybody could think that a parent could have a child affiliated with a gang and that they could hide that. That he's running around with a pistol in his waist, because I'm assuming he doesn't have a gun a holster, a shoulder thing that cops have or private detectives have. So he's running around with a pistol in his waist and the parents don't know about it? Doesn't he have to come home at some point? Doesn't he have to put that gun somewhere in your house? And you don't know about it? No, that's unacceptable. That is absolutely unbelievable. And if that's the case, you are an irresponsible, negligent parent. And you should damn well be held accountable for what that child did, for just being an absent parent. And I know, you've never been a parent, Ralph, and I'm a single mom and I'm working and I've got the youngster and he's 15 and she's 4 and I got balls in there. I don't care. I don't care. What else? One more.
Multiple people, including myself, all believe this to be the truth. But Harriet is part bloodhound, or she found a bloodhound over and brought it over to your room. Funny story, though.
I don't know how.
I'm telling you, it had to be the smell.
Of the bong?
Yes. 'Cause I'm sure you cleaned it and whatnot as well as much.
Well,
as much as you did when you were in high school.
Well, cleaning and Ralph don't normally go in the
Well,
same
that's what I'm
sentence.
saying.
So you're probably. I never thought of that. It
It-
probably reeked to high heaven.
Probably.
And it's so funny you said that because I just cleaned out my bong this weekend because I hate doing that. It's such an annoying practice. I have to unravel. This is how I do it. If you want to know, I unravel a hanger. Not the double hanger. You know, there's some hangers that have the double thing. I get the hanger that has a single thing. And I straighten out the hanger. And that's a horrible vision, but that's how I clean out. I run it through hot water. And so he's probably right. The thing probably reeked to high heaven. She was like, what the hell is that smell? And just kind of
followed her nose.
Yeah.
Either that or she really wanted to play Scrabble and said, why does this smell so bad?
I never thought of that either. Maybe. Although my parents played cards. They weren't domino people. They played bid whist and stuff like that. Back half of the 4 o'clock hour, I'd stick around if I you.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. European leaders joined President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv for the 35th anniversary of Ukraine's Independence Day. Russia's invasion, which began in 2022, pushed on, with both countries escalating aerial attacks that are killing civilians. On Monday, UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham made his first overseas trip since taking office, joining other European leaders in Kyiv. The Supreme Court is siding with the Trump administration in a case over President Trump's executive order restricting mail-in voting, though it remains unclear how much can be implemented before the fast-approaching midterm elections. The U.S. Postal Service laid out its plans for implementing the order last week, but time is running short to impose major changes. On Wall Street, the Dow by 140 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
I'm Rob Archer. Bakersfield Police and Kern High School District are talking about tighter security at football games after Friday night's deadly shooting at Independence High School. The victim identified as 17-year-old Levi Jermaine Carter Brown. Police say he was shot during a fight next to the football stadium. A 15-year-old boy was arrested Saturday on suspicion of murder and participation in a criminal street gang. Police Chief Brent Stratton says the two knew each other and the shooting was not random. Stratton says BPD and the school district are talking about security for games this Friday. Ideas include metal detectors or security wands, although no changes have been announced. A heat advisory is in effect through Wednesday night. Bakersfield could reach around 104 to 106 today, with triple-digit heat continuing through midweek. I'm Rob Archer in the Kern Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250 micro. And yes, I told you so.
Maxwell in the morning. good till the last mic drop.
Studies report 77.6% of croplands area experience a positive greenness anomaly in 2025. For a world continually told that it is teetering on the edge of ecological catastrophe, a record green planet seems to be something worth mentioning. Plants apparently missed the memo that carbon dioxide is supposed to be an environmental villain.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Know you're out of sight.
842-537-6842-KERN. As I said at the top of the show, the triple murder case involving Lindsay Clancy took another twist and turn right at the end of the trial. The prosecution put forth their rebuttal witnesses Friday and today, and it's 7:30 back east, so I'm sure they're done for the afternoon. In fact, no, I know for a fact they're done because they sent the jury home after the defense called for a mistrial. We didn't really highlight this. I've been talking about this almost daily for the last week or so, but we didn't really talk about this, and I should have, because it occurred last week, and I noticed it, and I had it on my sheet of notes but didn't get into it, where they asked Patrick Clancy's mother, Lindsay's mother-in-law, a question about her faith, where they asked her, you do know that in the Catholic Church, murder is a mortal sin. And obviously, the defense objected, the judge jumped in and upheld the objection. Well, they did it again, where they got into God or faith or your beliefs, and that just can't happen in a trial. That can't happen in a courtroom. God is not present only when you take the oath. But in a trial, you can't bring up somebody's faith. You can't bring up religion, your beliefs in God. And they did it again. So the defense called for a mistrial. Now, everybody, you don't have to pass the bar to understand there is no way in hell any judge in North America is going to call a mistrial in the late fourth quarter of a trial. I mean, we're talking about, again, the jury getting this thing probably no later than Wednesday. They'll probably do closing arguments tomorrow, and then they'll get the trial on Wednesday. And to be honest with you, this is just my guess, I think we have a verdict by Friday because I think it's a slam dunk. I think the defense has done a wonderful job. Not even a wonderful job. They've just done their job to highlight the Hansel and Gretel-like trail that this woman led and created a scenario, a narrative in this trial that it really wasn't about Lindsay Clancy and the horrendous acts that she did, taking a rubber exercise cord and killing her 5'3" and 8-month-old child, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 8-month-old child. But they've made it about mental health treatment because even her mother-in-law, Patrick Clancy's mother, her own mother, and others, in fact, the quote from the mother-in-law was, she begged for help. This was a woman who institutionalized herself at one point. This is a woman who reached out to a suicide hotline and was told, essentially, you don't qualify. What? Because she didn't have a plan on how she intended to kill herself, so they didn't deal with her. And this is a woman, have you seen the long list of drugs that I think 3 different doctors had her on? It looks like a gangbanger's rap sheet. It's about 12 or 13 different drugs. And then there's the testimony from the doctors who insisted that she was hearing voices. The prosecution was pushing back. Why did the voices stop? Why haven't we heard anything about these voices since? Why isn't she still suicidal? But I just think that they have absolutely made their case for institutionalizing this woman. She'll never go free. She'll never go free. How the jury deals with the prosecution's assertions that the suicide was made up is going to be interesting. Because remember, as I told you, the police said that there was blood on the side of the house where underneath the window from where she was allegedly jumped to her death. The police said it was all made up. Because how did the blood get on the side of the house? And they either think that she climbed down and was either just going to climb down and lay there and claim that she jumped because she cut herself up, or she was climbing down and actually fell, because she did fall and she is wheelchair bound for the rest of her life from the fall. But did she jump or did she fall? The police and the prosecution insist she fell, trying to simulate suicide. Meantime, here's Dr. Kirk Hilbrun, who testified earlier today that in his mind, there are two reasons that she did this.
There ended up being, in my mind, two possible explanations for why she did what she did. The first being the acute psychosis with command hallucinations, and the second being this was a serious suicide attempt, and she wanted the children to be with her so she wouldn't be separated from them, and so they wouldn't have to suffer after she was gone.
I don't understand how that was a prosecution witness. Because to me, that sounds like insanity, what he just described. Let's hear that one more time. I'm certain this is a prosecution witness.
There ended up being, in my mind, two possible explanations for why she did what she did. The first being the acute psychosis with command hallucinations, and the second being this was a serious suicide attempt, and she wanted the children to be with her so she wouldn't be separated from them, and so they wouldn't have to suffer after she was gone.
Isn't that insanity? Or is that methodical premeditation? I'm assuming that's their assertion since it's a prosecution witness. And I assume, since he's testifying, that they're saying, just because you want to kill yourself, it doesn't give you the okay to kill your children because you don't want them not to have a mother. But that sounds like insanity to me. That you kill your children because you don't want them to have a mother? That's a sane rationale? That's a sane process, thought process? Really? I don't know. But again, I am convinced that she's going to be institutionalized. And the reason, and you say, well, then, Ralph, if you're going to say, trying to be a law expert, that there's no judge in the world that was going to call a mistrial, then why did they ask for the mistrial? Here's why. They've now set up the situation for appeal. If you don't bring this up during the trial, you can't bring it up in appeal. In other words, if you lose, you can't just suddenly, after the fact, come up with something. Well, wait a minute, what about this? It's got to be something that is introduced during the trial. You've got to have an issue during the trial. And then you can take that issue that got slapped down by your current judge and appeal it. But you've got to have something to allude to from the trial. You can't just after the fact say, well, what about this? Unless it's an extraordinary situation, like in the what's his name, Ralph? What was the redhead that killed his wife in it? Randy? What was it? Rupert? No, that's another Murdoch. What was my man's name from South Carolina? The redhead that killed his wife and his son.
I think you're right on Rupert, but give me a second.
No, it's not Rupert Murdoch. That's the owner of Fox. What's the matter with you? Rupert Murdoch.
You're absolutely right. I don't know why that
Australian.
was right. Paul is the son.
Yeah.
Why is there every name except for the father? What's
Was it
going on?
Ralph?
Richard.
Richard Murdoch? Why doesn't my poor brain? Why doesn't that sound familiar to me?
Alex, maybe Alex.
Alex Murdoch. Alex, that's what it was. It was Alex.
Yeah, 'cause
Oh, and here comes the associate
Alexander's
producer.
the middle name.
Alec. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. The associate producer. Just a little too late. Thank you. Same thing in that situation. And I don't think they brought up this thing with the clerk because they didn't find out about it till after the fact. That's a rare and extraordinary situation. And they might have. No, I don't think they learned about that during the. Lisa, did they learn about the clerk acting a fool during the trial? I don't think so. I think they learned about that after the trial. Something like that you can appeal. You know, that's misconduct. But an issue in the court has to be addressed in the court. So they didn't bring it up to get a mistrial. Because again, in the fourth court of a trial, there's no judge on the planet that's going to say, yep, let's do it all over again. Sorry, jurors. I know you've been away from your families and you've been doing this for weeks and weeks. Please stand by. No, I think it was after. Yeah, I think it was too. Yeah, I think it was too. But that, again, that's extraordinary. That is extraordinary. But again, I think we'll find out something. I don't think it's going to take long. If they get the case by Wednesday, I think we'll have a verdict by the end of the week, one way or the other. I mean, you got a case where the woman says, I did this. And it's just a matter of, was she sane or was she insane? And again, remember that the onus in the state of Massachusetts, because again, it's like elections, every state, all 50, are independent countries, essentially. That's the way you got to look at it. Every state is its own independent country. It still answers to the federal government, but you run your state any way you want. You can run elections any way you want. You can run courts any way you want. And in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the onus is on the prosecution. The prosecution has to prove that Lindsay Clancy is not insane, as opposed to the defense having to prove that she is insane. So she has a presumption of insanity right now, just as she has a presumption of innocence. I don't think there's any question. Our associate producer, Lisa, totally disagrees with me and thinks that she's going to be thrown in the who's gal. We shall see what we shall see. But again, I think we're going to find out by the end of the week. I really do. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll check the board again, get into the 5, talk a lot of sports, do a little tribute to Michael Wright, African-American actor. He's in some great films. Do you remember him, old people, in The Wanderers? He was on the black football team. He was the captain of the black football team that they battled out with. He was probably a teenager. He was in another black movie that none of y'all have seen, Sugar Hill, starring Wesley Snipes, a great picture. They're a pair of brothers who are brothers, but they're brothers. And they're the big dope dealers in Harlem. Snipes wants to get out. His brother doesn't. Abe Vigoda is in the film. And as they say in Hollywood, the brother wants to stay and continue selling dope. Snipes wants to get out. And as they say in Hollywood, that's where the hijinks begin. It's a great picture. And of course, he starred in the immortal black cultural film, The 5 Heartbeats. We'll play some audio from that. And then coming up at the 5, we'll talk about the WNBA, the Cleveland Browns, the U.S. Open, the FedEx Cup. Wyndham Clark got a big win yesterday. Almost called Nick Ragone. I almost did. Rory McIlroy absolutely spit the bit coming down the last 4 holes. God. Tied for the lead at 15, and he lost by 2 shots. Maybe even 3, I think. 3. Just, he is the most mercurial, I can't get a finger. He is the worst. I know this is a crazy sentence, but nevertheless. Rory McIlroy is the worst, greatest golfer in history. You know what I'm saying? Like, clearly he's in the top 10 of all-time players, maybe top 15. And among those 15, Rory McIlroy's the worst. Quick timeout. It's TRBS on a Monday. Right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. First Look with Scott Cox, mornings 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Tuesday edition of the First Look program, haven't just seen the effects of this drought all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. I can't wait to talk to Lois Henry about water issues right here in the San Joaquin Valley. And we will do exactly that, plus news, traffic, and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Looking to buy a home, refinance, or tap into your home's equity? Get honest, professional guidance from Brian Colbrook with My Cornerstone Mortgage. With over 20 years of top producing experience in Bakersfield, Brian has helped thousands of families navigate home loans, whether you're staying local or relocating out of state. Brian's trusted network and honest advice make the process harmonious. Brian Colbrook and My Cornerstone Mortgage have many home loan products, dedicated staff, and have earned a great reputation among Bakersfield real estate professionals. Don't guess about your mortgage. Call Brian Colbrook today at 661-524-LEND. That's LEND like a lender, 524-LEND. Team Colbrook at My Cornerstone Mortgage. Only good and honest.
My Cornerstone Mortgage, a DBA of Moria Development Inc. LL licensing, CA-DOC 260438, NMLS-260438. Company licensing, CA-4130661, NMLS 6274. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Equal housing lender.
Medicare eligible and seeking a caring doctor? QualCare IPA partners with most Medicare Advantage plans, offering top doctors and hospitals in Kern County. Medicare Advantage beats original Medicare, but it is confusing. So call QualCare IPA at 800-940-5520 for help. That's 800-940-5520. Special needs? Call 661-554-4544, TTY 711.
In Kern County, Valley fever affects more than 3,000 people each year. But together, we can change that. Join Kern County Public Health as a Valley Fever ambassador. You don't need medical experience, just a willingness to help your community stay informed. Neighbors sharing with neighbors. Coworkers looking out for each other. Be part of the solution by signing up for a 30-minute virtual training. Visit KernPublicHealth.com to learn more.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Eight 842-537-6842-KERN. I'll check the chat room in just a second. Microphone's already unraveled, but in the meantime, what's on the board?
Let's see. A sane person killed their 3 children. Doesn't the mere action render her insane?
I always thought so. I think the 15-year-old that shot the 17-year-old had to be insane. What is going through your mind after you shoot that gun? I'm going to get away with this? Juvie won't be that bad? I can come out at 25 and still gangbang and make a living and my life will be okay. I would love, and I don't know why we don't do this. Why don't we debrief these kids? Why doesn't law enforcement or mental health experts sit down and ask this child, what the Sam Hill were you thinking? Like, what did you think was going to happen after this occurred? You really thought you'd be all right? You really think that your life would be on a good path now? Somehow that you could save your life? You didn't realize that the second you pull that trigger, your life was over and that you'd ruin the life of another family? No word yet on whether Levi was involved with gangs. I've heard nothing but good things about this kid, but you always do. You know, and then you find out, oh, well, he was affiliated as well. I don't know that, but it just seems so stupid. Kids killing kids. And I'm telling you, the birth of gangs was post mid-1960s when Lyndon Johnson made it attractive for young black women to have children without fathers because you get this and you get that and you get that and you get this all for free. All for free. And when welfare was established, many of these mothers felt that they didn't need a dad. Many of these dads didn't feel like they should be responsible. And it was the explosion of the nuclear family in Black America. And unless you are of a certain income, it really hasn't changed. Where low economic Black folks are still hanging on. I've told you the story about my receptionist in the 1980s when I was at Coast Media. I was the godfather to her child. She had a boyfriend who was the baby daddy, who was a postman. And when I would ask her why she didn't marry this guy, who was probably in the late 80s as a federal worker, making 40, 50 grand, which is pretty good money in the late 1980s, with benefits out the wazoo and a guy going to be taken care of by the federal government until he dies. And I would ask her, why won't you marry this man? She said, I'd lose my wick or my this and my that. They absolutely incentivize the idea that you don't need a family. And that was the beginning of gangs. Because for many of these kids, that's the only love and attention and camaraderie they get. I'm not trying to excuse these kids or justify entering a gang by any means. But I think if you talk to Manuel Carrizales and people who were gang members and who are now doing everything they can to prevent this kind of activity, they will tell you it is a void of love. It's a void of moral compass in the home. 9 times out of 10, there's not a father. I just can't imagine these kids, Carmelo Anthony running around with a knife at 17 years of age. And then we find out through text messages that he kind of dug it, that he kind of got some kind of high out of it. By the way, I should mention, I did not mention this at all today, but we left you on Friday with them looking for a new trial. And as I told you, the judge denied it. There'll be no new trial for Carmelo Anthony. He's in prison for the next 35 years, probably 17, 18 years in reality. But that appeal was denied. They were seeking an appeal based on the fact that there was a gentleman's agreement to keep out certain facts about each of the kids' past. Austin Metcalf, the victim, we learned, was a bully who had disciplinary problems at his high school and was a virulent racist. And had that gasoline been poured on the fire, that whole racial issue, which existed throughout the whole trial, would have been, I can't even imagine to what level. But then we also found out that there were text messages on Anthony's side that indicated where he sent a picture of the knife to the girlfriend who he was stalking that said, well, let me read it exactly so I don't get this wrong. Something that he's going to lick the blood of the knife when he uses it, or something to that effect. I can't find it. But as I said on Friday, I think if there had been a miracle and a judge had given him another trial, I think there's more evidence to find him guilty in the second trial. But that was denied. But it just seems so ridiculous. So unbelievably ridiculous. Teenagers shooting one another. You know, anytime anybody asks me what Dr. King would have thought of the 21st century, and, you know, Barack and all this nonsense, I said he would cry, because prior to 1968, there were no black gangs. Black teenagers were not killing other black teenagers. He never witnessed that. And for Dr. King to see that, I think he would say we've taken 3 steps forwards with Barack, and look at Ralph Bailey, the only black radio talk shows in the history of Kern County. But we've also taken 4 steps backwards at the same damn time. Final hour of the broadcast. Talk a lot of sports in the 5. I'd stick around if I you.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI, Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The U.S. and Canada are falling deeper into a trade war.
Each side is blaming the other for the collapse of negotiations. It led to new U.S. tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods. Canada retaliated.
They were offered quite a good deal last week. They chose to reject it.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney rose to power on an anti-American, anti-Trump platform. Carney says there wasn't enough there to make a deal.
We did make some progress in recent weeks. In the end, that momentum reversed.
Carney says the U.S. wants to dismantle the Canadian auto industry. Ontario Premier Doug Ford tells the AP former President Ronald Reagan would be throwing up if he knew what was going on. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Canada will announce retaliatory tariffs against the United States on Tuesday. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. is imposing sweeping new sanctions on Iran, including a crackdown on countries that buy and sell Iranian oil.
Iran's enablers purchase, transport its petroleum. They facilitate the flow of its finances through exchange houses and free trade zones. They welcome Iran's flights and maintain registries on its behalf. They turn a blind eye to seaborne fuel transfers and overland transits. They condone illicit use of their banks, all the while concealing the extent of their complicity.
The sanctions aim to further cut off Iran from the rest of the world economy after President Trump pledged last week to unleash an economic D-Day against Tehran. A mixed day on Wall Street with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 140 points, but the Nasdaq dropping 200, with the S&P 500 index lower by 21 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
from the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Bakersfield Police and the Kern High School District are talking about tighter security at football games after Friday night's deadly shooting at Independence High School. I'm Rob Archer. The victim has now been identified as 17-year-old Levi Jermaine Carter Brown of Bakersfield. Police say Brown was shot during a fight on basketball courts next to the football stadium while the Independence Centennial game was underway. A 15-year-old boy was arrested Saturday on suspicion of murder and participation in a criminal street gang. Police Chief Brent Stratton says the victim and suspect knew each other and the shooting was not random. Stratton says BPD has been talking with the school district about security for games coming up this Friday. That could include discussions about metal detectors, security wands, and additional staffing, although no changes have been announced yet. A proposed Costco in Northwest Bakersfield is getting mixed reviews from people who live nearby. Plans call for the store, a gas station, restaurants, and other businesses near 7th Standard Road and Callaway Drive. Some people in the Gossamer Grove neighborhood say they like the idea of having Costco closer to home, but others say they worry about traffic, noise, and crime directly across from their neighborhood. The project still has to go through environmental review and city approval. Heat staying with us this afternoon. A heat advisory is in effect across the southern San Joaquin Valley through Wednesday night. Bakersfield could reach around 104 to 106 today. The National Weather Service says the heat risk will be moderate, especially for people without reliable cooling or enough water. Temperatures should stay in the low 100s tomorrow and Wednesday before dropping closer to 100 Thursday and into the upper 90s by Friday. I'm Rob Archer in the Kern Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
To the rest well in a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The Ralph Bailey Show, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Monday, 24th day of August. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com. We still got lots to do in the final hour. Boy, the news just gets more and more depressing. It really does. I understand JR talked about this on his show, but I'm just learning that Saturday and today there were more arrests. I'm reading from KGT. The Bakersfield Police Department said Monday that the department's Special Enforcement Unit has made multiple arrests and recovered firearms. On Saturday night, Special Enforcement Unit officers arrested 18-year-old Jaheim Leverett and two 15-year-olds who were, get this, in possession of firearms, face coverings, and gloves. Now, you know what that automatically means. They were looking for trouble. They weren't just riding around and happened to have their weapons on them. They had gloves and masks. Then early on Monday morning, BPD officers stopped another vehicle, which was occupied by 18-year-old Adam Porras, Porras, and 18-year-old Sean Reyes, and an unnamed 17-year-old minor. During that investigation, law enforcement recovered 2 firearms, masks, and gloves. BPD said all the individuals involved in these incidents are known gang members. And I'll tell you something, maybe this isn't right for Levi Brown, but JR just came down the hall and said something rather intelligent. Wouldn't let my kid go to this wake or vigil or whatever it is. You already know it's gang related. And what's to stop whatever rival gang looking for somebody. I mean, it's just so incredible. It really is. And, you know, I thought this was in my rearview mirror. I really did. I grew up covering gangs. I remember my first involvement. I was about 5th or 6th grade. And I've always told you the story of one of my mom's friends, Mrs. Washington, who lived kind of in Baldwin Hills, but kind of in a gray area of Baldwin Hills. Because Baldwin Hills is a fairly affluent Black neighborhood in Los Angeles. But there's an area down closer to, you know what's near where she lived? She lived right down the street from Magic Johnson's Theater, which I've told you is a miracle because my parents wouldn't let me go to that. It used to be the Baldwin Hills Theater. And my parents wouldn't let me go to that theater because in the 70s and the 80s, it was Black exploitation pictures and gang members hung out there. There was a lot of shootings, a lot of nonsense that would go on. Magic Johnson, about 15, maybe 20 years ago, when he started to become a billionaire and a businessman, bought it and instituted strict guidelines. Nobody could enter the theater with a cap. Nobody could enter the theater with a t-shirt on, just a plain white t-shirt. If you had like a model t-shirt, like I said, CSUB, that was all right. But if you just come in with a plain white t-shirt, can't do it. No hanging jeans. He put ushers in the theaters to tell people to stop talking or if there was any type of security problems. And he brought in white films. He brought in contemporary films. When I was growing up, it was all Pam Grier, Jim Kelly, Jim Brown, you know, Cotton Comes to Harlem. It was all these Black cultural films that were really not that good. Some were better, you know, Superfly and stuff like that. But it was just a disaster of an area. Well, anyway, Mrs. Broderick lived right down the street from there. And it was kind of a nice neighborhood, but kind of sketchy neighborhood. And she had an older son named Kenneth, who I just thought was the greatest human being on the planet. I'm in 6th grade. He's 16. He was a good-looking kid. He had a couple of girlfriends. He was just a cool cat. He was a decent athlete. And he threw a party. And I was in the kitchen with the parents. I'm in 6th grade. And somebody shot a pistol, which was just chaos, obviously. And it just happened that he was looking for some gang member that happened to be at the party. It had nothing to do with Kenneth. That was my first run-in with gangs. Because in the early 70s in Cerritos, it didn't really exist. But the birth of gang activity was really early 70s. And then it really started to get up on its feet in the mid-70s. And then by the time that I was working at the LA Sentinel in the mid-late 80s, 86 to 88, I was there, it was out of control. I've told you stories about how we as a staff would hit the ground. I think in the 2.5 years I was there, we had to fall on our bellies, I think 3 or 4 different times. Because Betty Pleasant, our managing editor, grew up in South Central, and her obsession was gang activity. So just about every week, she would write a scathing editorial about gang activity, and she would call these kids out. Just you numbskulls, ruining your lives, ruining everybody's lives that you come in contact with. You're the cancer of the Black community. Why don't you just go away if you're going to use a gun? I remember one line she said, if you use a gun, why don't you use it on yourself? And, you know, who edits the managing editor when the managing editor writes? Because managing editors don't write things on newspapers, but on a small paper like the Sentinel, Betty wrote every week. And anytime she wrote a scathing article about these guys, they just drive by our office and spray the office with bullets. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then Dan Rather had me on a show. He interviewed me. Dan Rather had like a 2020 show. And they interviewed me because my beat was gangs. And they sat and talked to me in my desk for about 20, 25 minutes. It was great. Rather didn't do the interview. It was a producer. And you know where I ended up? Right on the editing room floor. It was so humiliating because, of course, I called anybody and everybody I knew. I told my parents, I told my close friends, I told kids that I went to high school with, and we watched it, and it went off, and my phone started ringing. I'm like, yeah, I know, they cut me out. Dude, I knew you weren't gonna make it. You didn't know, nobody interviewed you. I'm telling you, they interviewed me, they just edited me out. I didn't make it, but to see these kids running around with guns in their waists and with masks and gloves, you're looking for trouble. They're roaming the community looking for guys and looking for opportunities. And kudos to the Bakersfield Police Department for these arrests, that these guys are out on the streets. Because if you talk to the guys in the special unit, you talk to detectives, you talk to Donnie Youngblood, they know who the gang members are. They know where they are. There's just some ridiculous law about, we've been fighting this thing. Can you make just pure gang participation a crime? And it's gone back and forth. And no, it's really got to be in the act of a crime. I don't know. It's just heartbreaking to think that you're 15, 17 years old and your mind has been completely corrupted, that you have no sense of right or wrong or any sense of having a fulfilling, should I use the word normal? Or maybe not even normal, just non-dramatic life, But these kids, I don't know whether they're looking for a shortcut in making money or just feel as if that this is their only lane. That life is so up against me that this is the only thing I can do, which used to be what black gamblers said in the 30s and the 40s. Black man can't make a good living. This is the only route I have is criminality, which of course is not true. Education is the simple magic bullet. But as we become more secular and we have fewer and fewer true family units, there's nobody to keep these kids off the beaten path, because once if they're having issues at 12, 13, they're done. If you can't catch them early, they're done. There's nothing you can do. And they're going to go down this path, and once they're in, it's very difficult to extract them. It really is. And it's just so sad. It really is. It truly, truly is. Let's go ahead and take a break. And we come back. Got a bunch of audio to play for you. You will hear you'll hear the description of what went down between Natasha Cloud and Enos Kanter Freeman. Freeman is the
Freedom.
Yeah, you're right. Freedom is the dominant center who identifies as a woman. He showed up at a game and Natasha interacted with him in the middle of the game. Like, have you ever heard of this in your life? Can you imagine an NBA player like getting into it with a fan during a basketball game? I mean, not that there hasn't been fan interaction. Oh, there's been some classics. You guys remember the one with Bob Lanier? This was long before the Malice in the Palace or whatever the hell that was with Meta World and Ben Wallace and all that. But this is one. It was the Pistons and the Bulls, I think, and they got into it along the bench, and then a fan tried to sucker punch one of his players, and then big-ass Bob Lanier out of St. Bonaventure College, who was a huge man. He was 6'11", but he was like 3 bills. He was like one of those 70s centers that Kareem talked about in the movie Airplane. And this poor fan gets the wrath of Bob Lynn. So there have been interactions with players and fans and stuff like that, but this thing is bizarre. You'll hear from both Freedom and the description by the play-by-play announcers, which is clearly biased, is the reason I want you to hear this. And you'll hear Deshaun Watson spit in the eye of his entire fan base, and despite that, he's going to start the first game of the season for the Cleveland Browns. Quick timeout. We're coming right back. It's TRBS. It's the Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 AM 1230, streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio. News Talk 96.
Casey.
You got one?
Good till the last mic drop.
Cam Newton, he claims that there were players, coaches, and execs that told people that they got the COVID shot, but they really didn't. And he was defending Aaron Rodgers over his recent statements on ESPN. What Cam Newton is saying is that he has a right to be upset just because he didn't get this COVID shot, because there are those people who didn't get the shot either.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
You know, there's an aspect of Casey Steakhouse that I don't talk about quite enough, and it's really one of my favorite aspects what the guys in the back are doing, and that's the daily soups. Yeah, I know most of you order a salad because it's more healthy for you, but try the soups. The vegetable beef is incredible. The chicken noodle is unique. It's not like a typical chicken noodle. It's a little less salty and really, really tasteful. Big old chunks of chicken. My favorite is the chicken pot pie. It actually tastes like a chicken pot pie, or the corn tortilla. And of course, on Fridays, the clam chowder. Where would you rather be? You can get it in a bread bowl on Fridays. But just try that instead of a salad next time. And of course, try out the Stockyard next door, Thursday, Fridays, and Saturday nights. They've got live music on Saturday. And of course, Bobby and Jimmy are providing live music in the main restaurant Wednesday through Saturday. Where would you rather be than on F Street at KC Steakhouse, longtime sponsors of the Ralph Bailey Show?
What keeps you up at night? Do you wonder if what you've saved will be enough? If your money will go as far as you plan? Or whether your retirement will look the way you imagine? What worries you? Everyone's concern is different, but ignoring it won't make it disappear. This is Ron Paul. You may not be able to predict what comes next, but you can take steps now to diversify your savings with precious metals before uncertainty becomes urgency. My friends at Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit explaining how gold can help diversify your IRA or 401k. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. There's no cost and no obligation. Just free information to help you consider your option. Take the first step with Birch Gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS isn't slowing down. And the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions of Americans that owe back taxes to the IRS. Unfortunately, they're the world's most powerful collection agency, with the ability to garnish your wages, seize your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. But don't be stressed or worried any longer. We're Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. We have resolved over $3 billion in tax debt for our clients. Our award-winning professionals deal with the IRS every single day, protecting our clients and preparing them for the best possible resolution. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, give Optima a call today.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
842-537-6842 KERN. So again, the WNBA is just an absolute joke. It's so funny that everybody's talking about the WNBA, but it's got nothing to do with their play or the playoffs. And I just keep getting these Angel Reese Part 32, where they tear apart every game. And I guess, I had a friend, because Chet is a big Angel Reese fan, my buddy in Sacramento. And I was talking to him, and he said, well, Ralph, this is racist, and And I'm like, calm down, Jackson. And he's like, well, have you ever seen anybody have lowlights on the internet? And I said, well, this was pre-Shaq. Maybe they would have had highlights of Shaq bricking free throws.
Well, Shaq had a whole show, Shaq to the Fool.
Shaq to the Fool, yeah. They
did
do.
lowlights.
He still does it. They still do it on ESPN. But he's saying they're centering on this one woman. Have they ever done that before in the history of sports broadcasting? I'm like, no, not really. No, they've never focused on one player specifically.
Shaq focuses in on Rudy Gobert a lot.
Yeah, but it's not like
I know it's different, but I'm just
different. But and the only thing I could answer him with is she deserves it. Because because it's not just picking on her, it's remarkable. It's so remarkable. I send it to Randy, and sometimes I send it to Randy and Chris. This beat that these guys do. They make a living doing it because she does it every night, where she's missing 5, 6, 7 layups a night. She missed a breakaway layup. In other words, there was nobody on her side of the court. It was like a technical foul, and she missed it. Like on the far rim. Like, in other words, she almost airballed a layup. It barely caught. She was on the right side. She put it up against the glass, and it barely kicked off the far side of the rim, meaning it damn near was an air ball. I'm telling you, a state championship high school basketball team would beat maybe not every WNBA team, but a couple. A couple. What would you do with their center? And the kids are longer, they're quicker. You couldn't stop them from getting to the glass. Are you kidding me? And now Natasha Cloud goes after this kid, Freedom. Enos Cantor Freedom has brought all attention. Nobody heard of him before he declared that he identifies as a woman, and was really, in my opinion, I don't know this guy. Maybe he truly does identify as a woman, but I think he and the other kid are just mocking the lack of policy, which I'm beginning to understand apparently that they have now finally declared. Because the commissioner, her contract is up. They're done. She's done. There is no way in hell they bring her back as the commissioner. Listen to the call and listen to the bias. And this is another issue with the WNBA, that all the commentators are women. What's that about? You can't have intelligent men talk about female basketball? And I think the men would be more critical, because listen to how they approached what happened. Listen to this play-by-play.
And right before the break, this was the scene inside Wintrust Arena after Natasha Cloud got that bucket. She wanted her voice heard. We have talked about the conversations.
She wanted her voice heard. In the middle of a game, she made a basket, saw Freedom, and started talking smack to him. And I wasn't there. Even if he initiated it, he'd be like, I'm in the middle of a game. I'm not paying attention to your stupid ass. No, instead, she starts going after it, and the announcer says she wanted her voice heard. Right on, sister. Are you kidding me? This is the worst run league in the history of sport. The beginning of the NFL was run better than this. And if you've ever seen the George Clooney movie, I forget what it's called, and the guy that married Emily Blunt, it's about the beginning of football and how they broke rules and they created rules, and It was crooked as hell and blah, blah, blah. That was run better than the WNBA.
Leatherheads.
Great picture. Great George Clooney picture. And what's Emily Blunt's husband's name? John Krasinski? Yeah, great picture. Krasinski plays a college star who is untouchable. And George Clooney plays the leader of a ragtag NFL football team in the 1920s as they're just starting out, literally. And his idea, as they are about to fold, if I can get this kid to play for us and give him $5,000 a thing, and that's where the hijinks begins. And it's really about the beginning of football. It's why Gerald Ford never played football and became a politician, because there was no money in it. It's why Jackie Robinson didn't play football. Jackie Robinson was, at the time, the greatest running back in America in the late 30s and early 40s. There was no money in it. And they certainly weren't letting any black folks play NFL football in the 40s. As I've always talked about, whenever I talk about Jack Robinson, baseball was his worst sport. He was a track star like his brother Mac, who finished second in the 1936 Olympics to Jesse Owens. He was the Pac-8 scoring leader in basketball. And as I said, he was the greatest collegiate running back in football at the time. Last half hour of the broadcast. It's TRBS on a Monday. Don't go anywhere.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The United States and Canada have fallen deeper into a trade war. New tariffs are expected to raise prices for products in both countries. Each side is blaming the other for the collapse of negotiations in Washington late Friday. That's led the U.S. to impose 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods, and Canada setting September 8th as the start of its retaliatory penalties. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has announced a new round of sanctions aimed at Iran. At a news conference Monday, he also warned every country that does business with the Islamic Republic to sever those financial ties or face retaliation from the United States. The sanctions aim to further cut off Iran from the rest of the world economy. On Wall Street, the Dow by 140 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
I'm Bob Archer. Bakersfield police are still working with the Kern High School District on possible security changes after Friday night's deadly shooting at Independence High School. Police Chief Brent Stratton says options such as metal detectors and security wands are worth talking about before upcoming football games. A 15-year-old boy has been arrested in the killing of 17-year-old Levi Jermaine Carter Brown. A proposed Costco in Northwest Bakersfield is drawing mixed reactions from nearby homeowners. Plans call for a Costco, a gas station, restaurants, and other businesses near 7th Standard Road and Callaway Drive. Some people in the Gossamer Grove neighborhood say they like having more shopping nearby, but others worry about traffic, noise, and crime. Bakersfield stays above 100 this afternoon with the heat advisory continuing through Wednesday night. I'm Bob Archer in the Kern Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
The kids of KCXC Elite are chasing big dreams, the national championships, college opportunities, and a better future. KCXC Elite is a national level cross-country and track program that won 3 straight national titles for our community. But as the team grows, so does the need. Many talented athletes come from families that can't afford travel, gear, or entry fees. Without help, those kids risk being left behind, missing the chance to compete on the biggest stages. Coach Ryan, Stacy, and their volunteer coaches are reaching out to the community for support. Their next goal is the National Cross Country Championships in Tallahassee this December, and they need your help to get every kid there. Please donate today. Call or text Coach Ryan at 661-747-1603 or visit KCXCElite.com to learn more and give. KCXC Elite is an AAU registered affiliate. Donations may be tax deductible. All funds go directly to the athletes. Any gift helps. Let's keep a junior Olympian's dream alive.
First Look with Scott Cox, mornings 6 to 9 a.m.
There was a hit and run at 3:06 this morning on Wheeler Ridge Road. I drove last week the entire western seaboard of this country, pretty much from one end to the highest, furthest up you can go. There's nothing to compare this town to in this county. There's just not.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. KERN.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Country sun, and everything is cool. Oh yeah, yeah. In the summer, oh yeah, yeah. In the summer, oh yeah, yeah. In the summer, in the summertime. Goes to the fall and there she goes. Bye, 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 bye.
Those summer days. So I told you the story about Natasha going after this guy. We played you the audio of the play-by-play and how even the announcers are part of this, I don't know, just politically involved. Can you imagine Chick Hearn saying, and Magic wanted his voice heard? I mean, that's just not your job as a broadcaster. To describe why she's yelling at Freedom? She wanted her voice heard? Really? Did you interview this woman? What are you talking about? You are a play-by-play announcer. You are objective. You can describe the nature of their issue. She, along with many players in the WNBA, have a problem with biological men playing women's sports, but then you got to get into it. And you have to play reporter, and this person who we just played for you was too incompetent to do that, because then you have to get into the whole Sophie Cunningham thing. You have to say, you know, it's ironic that Natasha Cloud is speaking up during the game, because when Sophia Cunningham spoke up in postseason and essentially said exactly what Natasha Cloud yelled at this biological male, she was castigated. The next road game, she was booed. People started showing up in pro-trans T-shirts, while another group that showed up with XX and XY T-shirts were told to leave the facility. Huh? The WNBA is a joke. It is a joke. Here is Enos Kanter Freedom explaining or just asking for some basic logic.
If I was a parent, I wouldn't want my kid to be in the same locker room, same showers, or same bathroom with a biological, male. So, and if my other daughter came out and says, hey, I have a man or I have a biological male taking a shower in the same locker room as us, I will just go crazy. So I feel like this shouldn't even be like a right or left issue. This should be like a common sense.
That's what I've never understood. How in the world has this become partisan? Well, it's really not partisan. It really isn't, because it's 80-20. Even an overwhelming majority of Democrats don't want their daughters bumping into 15, 16-year-old, 17-year-old males who identify as a woman in their locker room. It's crazy, let alone the competition level. Somebody in the chat room poo-pooed what did I say? He'd average like 40 or 50. Somebody in the chat room was like, are you nuts? He'd average like 60, 70 points every single night, which is probably true. They'd lob it into him every single time down. He'd spin on the girl or just toss up a hook that she couldn't touch. But yet if Sophie Cunningham says that in a news conference, somehow the powers that be on the LGBTQ side come out of the woodworks and, absolutely rip her apart for saying so. I just don't get it. I really, really don't. It's you can't explain the WNBA. You really can't. And what's crazy is the play is getting better among the competitive teams, like Indiana. Indiana's one of the best teams in basketball right now in the WNBA. Boston, the kid from South Carolina, is a three-point threat, and she gets in the post. She's a big girl, and she's tough. Sophie Cunningham's starting to play well. And who's the black star?
Aaliyah Boston?
No, the other.
Mitchell?
Kelsey Mitchell is one of the best players in the NBA. And Caitlin Clark is kind of, she's having not a really good season. There's some nights where she's beats up on, she's like the Dodgers. She beats up on bad teams. Then she's faced with good teams, like when she played the Vegas team and they had Asia Wilson on her. She didn't play that well. In fact, the other night, I think she had 10 points. They had somebody on her that I'm told is a defensive specialist. She had 10 points and shot very badly. And every single night, she has 7 or 8 turnovers. Traveling, just throwing the ball away. That is unacceptable. Meantime, in football, and we're just weeks away from opening day. Again, have you been watching Hard Knocks? Because it just,
not really.
I'm done. It's not very good.
No.
And it's the team. It's not the format.
Yeah.
They have no real superstars. They have no real characters. Their coach is a loaf of white bread.
They're just bland.
What do you think white bread is?
Yeah, no, exactly.
That's exactly right. They're just, there's nothing to them.
Yeah.
Even though they're coming off a championship, there's just nothing exciting or interesting about the team. They're a Super Bowl champion, so it's not like they have a high draft pick that we're interested in, because that's really the drama of Hard Knocks, is who makes the team and who doesn't. But, when you're drafting 32nd, who cares? Although, even a 32nd first round pick is still a kid that you expect is going to make the ball club. Meantime, in Cleveland, I just will never, I don't know what mystifies me more, the WNBA or the Cleveland organization. Deshaun Watson, in one of the most remarkable post-game conference, post-game meetings with the press. I've never heard anything like this, where he essentially attacked the entire Cleveland fan base, which, despite its incompetence, the Browns are one of the few teams, Detroit, I can't come up with the top of my head, but those are the two that immediately pop into my head, that has never been to a Super Bowl. Never sniffed it. The closest they came was, I think, 1976 against the Raiders, when they were in field goal position to win the game. And from about the 25, in a very cold day in Cleveland, they tried to throw it into the end zone to Ozzie Newsome. And Mike Davis, who used to live in Palos Verdes, lived right down the street from my parents. Mike Davis, a safety who, to a player on the Raiders, would tell you couldn't catch a cold in the middle of winter, makes a great diving catch in the end zone to end their only chances to get to the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure that's the year we went in 76 for the 77 Super Bowl and beat the Vikings for the first Oakland championship. But their incompetence is absolutely amazing. Here is a man who has been sued by more than 3 women for sexual misconduct. He's been able to dodge all of them. And a player that got booed when they tore his Achilles tendon, and feels that the boos are not about his play, but about who he is.
It has nothing to do about the performance. It's a little bit personal than that. So I think that's it's a disrespectful thing.
But don't you think Deshaun, that winning and playing better would eliminate some of that booing?
Last time I played on this field, I tore my Achilles. And that same fan base, they cheered when I got hurt. So what does that have to do with anything about performance? When a person get hurt, especially for your own city, and they cheer.
They will never cheer for you again. The only hope he has is the miracle that they somehow go either 1-1. I think the fan base would take 1-1 against Jacksonville and Tampa Bay when he comes home for the third game against Carolina. But if they go 0-2 and get embarrassed by Jacksonville and Baker Mayfield, I'm not sure you can start him in the third game. Would you start him in the third game?
Be really hard to, especially with the fans getting ready to throw stuff on the field.
When he gets introduced, when he takes the field, when he throws his first incompletion, God forbid he throws an interception. I mean,
does he pull a Geno Smith coming in flipping off the fans?
I mean, the quarterback, whether it's right or wrong, of the 32 teams, I would say 27 of them, the quarterback is the face of the franchise. The Raiders are one of the few that's not the case because we don't know anything about Kirk Cousins. We don't know if he's going to be playing game 4 or is it Mendoza. We're trying to figure out who our face is. But on most franchises, the quarterback is the face of the team. The face of the Kansas City Chiefs is Patrick Mahomes. It's not Travis Kelce. It's not Andy Reid. It's Patrick Mahomes. The face of the Patriots was Tom Brady. It wasn't Gronk. It wasn't Belichick. It was Tom Brady. The face of your team is your quarterback. He's normally the most articulate. And to be blunt with you, 7 times out of 10, they're good-looking young men. They represent well at the press conference, you hope. And they touch the ball just about every offensive play. They are the franchise. You cannot win in the NFL with a bad quarterback. You cannot. I don't care how good your team is. Yes, there have been some teams. You think of Tampa Bay with, what's his name? He turned into a high school coach. Trent Darby. Robert Trent Jones. Trench warfare.
I'm going to say.
No, Trent Dilfer. But you got another Trent?
No, I was going to say Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, Trent Dilfer is who I'm talking about. But Trent Dilfer wasn't bad. He just wasn't good. Brad Johnson, who won a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson wasn't a bad quarterback. Just wasn't a very good quarterback. You can get okay as long as the other guy doesn't give it to the other team. You know what I'm saying? But to win consistently, you have to have a very good quarterback. And he has to be responsible. He has to be the leader. And he's the face of the franchise. And when your quarterback spits in the eye of your entire fan base and he's not playing well, he came in the third quarter, the last preseason game, was 5 of 12, not the last one played, 5 of 12 for 35 yards and a pick. Now, Shador had a pick, but his hit the hands of his receiver and bounced into the opponents. Well, from what I saw, Shador, who was playing with the ones and against the ones, looked great. I thought. But they came out today and said, no, the criminal over here is going to be our starter, who hates the fans and the fans hate him. Cleveland Brown football. That's the only thing you can say.
That's what I was just about to say. But isn't this the most Cleveland Brown thing you could think of?
It totally is. Totally is. And it's sad. It really is. Because that was once a very proud franchise that began with Paul Brown, who was a legend in Cincinnati. And somehow, for whatever reason, I forget what it was, and I used to know, but for whatever reason, the Bengals cut him loose. Legendary Hall of Fame football coach. And he was incensed, as you can imagine. So he said, all right, I'll go to Ohio. I'll go to Cleveland, create my own damn team. What are you going to call it, Paul? Name it after my damn self. I'm going to call it the Browns. And they were very successful, Paul Brown. Did Paul Brown coach Jim Brown? I think he did. Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, so sad. So sad. Final break of the night. Keep it locked. Scott Jennings at the top of the hour. And again, from what I hear, rumor around the campfire inside the Beltway, we may not be handing it off to Scott Jennings much longer. Scott is a former chief of staff for Senator Mitch McConnell. And I have heard that he is on a very, very short list to replace Carolyn Leavitt as the president's press secretary. But who knows? But he's here today, so keep it locked. Tomorrow's a Tuesday. Teresa Goldner, our judge, joins us along with our good friend Howard Marcus. I'm sure we'll talk a little gang activity with with Howard. But in the meantime, hang on. You're listening to the Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1230, and we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio.
Three, two. Isn't it frightening to discover that the incident at Independence High School with a kid carrying a gun is not isolated? That the BPD made arrests on Saturday, on Monday, a slew of teenagers carrying guns, masks, and gloves. This town is inundated with teenagers wandering around looking for other gang members to shoot. That's the reality. 3, 2. It's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Tuesday, TRBS. Our judge, Teresa Goldner, joins us. And, of course, we'll go up the hill and talk with our good friend Howard Marcus. All that plus me at 3. It's TRBS right here on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1230. I'll see you at 3.
Unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment. Just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250, micro. And yes, I told you so.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose. And millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. and happy 50th.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
50 cents.
No phones, no pools, no pets. Ain't got no cigarettes.
But 2 hours of pushing broom. There's a 8 by 12 4-bedroom. I'm a
Man of means by no means. King of the road. A local, longtime Brown fan, self-described long-suffering Brown fan, Kevin Bartle had to tighten me up. I got the Paul Brown story just about right, other than the fact that I had it in the exact opposite order. Other than that, it was nothing but the truth. That he actually started the Cleveland Browns and got summarily dismissed by them, a team that he founded, and he said, screw you, and went to Cincinnati and created the Bengals, which I should have known because the Brown family still owns the Bengals. I think it's his son or grandson, Mike Brown. No, I think it's his son, Mike Brown, and his daughter are still the executives of the Cleveland Browns. I know that. And how I don't know. But thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Bart. When are we going to play, dude? Got to play some golf. I need players, man. I only have a handful of guys to play, and all my guys don't like playing on the weekends, and I can't play on the weekdays. Who you got?
JD.
JD, what's really going on?
Oh, how you doing, Ralph, man? You're hitting a lot of topics for me today.
Yeah, we're bouncing all over the place. There's a lot going on.
No, I like it, and all the stuff I like. I think Bill Walsh was an assistant coach under Brown in Cleveland.
Yes, he was.
Or excuse me, in
Cincinnati. Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was. So what else is going on?
Well, the other thing you hit on is I've already made my bet for the season. Cleveland Browns under 5.5 wins.
I think that's a sure thing. What do they have the Raiders at?
I think it's the same, 5.5.
Ooh. You think
that's all bad.
Under?
No, over.
Yeah, I think that. I think we'll get to 6 or 7.
I thought so too.
I don't think we'll get. I don't think
at least 5 to 6.
Well, you bet.
Raiders have a brutal schedule.
A brutal
of the schedule.
Brutal. We play the world champions. We play Kansas City twice. We play Denver twice. We play the Patriots. We play Buffalo. And some of these games are like consecutive. San Diego twice. They're in our division. I mean, I think it's the hardest schedule in football. And
that's why the over is a tough bet.
5.5, huh? Raiders?
Yeah, I think that's where it's at.
Yeah, but we also play Cleveland. We open up with Miami. We play the Jets. We've got 5 or 6 bad teams.
Yeah.
And you got to figure we're going to split with one of our division rivals. We're not going to going to get swept by Denver, San Diego, and Kansas City. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
We'll beat one of them at home, I would think. Probably the Chargers. And nobody knows how good Kansas City's going to be.
Yeah, that's a variable for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they should be good. Who, again, I keep forgetting. Who's the kid they got from Seattle?
Kenneth Walker.
See, I think he is going to be a huge game changer. I think I think Andy's going to run the ball more than he ever has with Patrick Mahomes with this Kenneth Walker in the backfield.
There you go. Now, segue for football. Are you going to have Brandon Lang this year?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a constant. He's a very dear friend. And yeah, he's a constant. We'll get with him in a couple of weeks. Can't wait.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
Does he help you? Does he really help you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's good.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, he's very good. And also, I was driving through Bakersfield today. I actually got to listen to you on the radio, which is not always the case for me.
Right.
And I stopped at Salty's Barbecue on their new place on Coffee Road. What a nice place that is.
Nice. Did you see Jeff? Was he there? Did you get to meet him?
I didn't see him.
Oh, he's as good as his food is. He's a better person than he is restaurateur. He's a great guy.
That's what it sounds like. And usually when I'm in, and proof of concept for him, Not that I'm doing that today, but when I'm driving with Mrs. JD, you know, the old place there on Rosedale didn't really have a good bathroom, you know, for when we're driving 4 hours.
Right.
So now, you know, it's all good. And the missus will be happy.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. I got to get out of here, JD. Thanks for the call, man. Always good to hear from you.
All right. You have a good one.
All right, buddy. Take care. It's our good friend JD from Oakland who drives through here on occasion, goes to Vegas quite a bit with his lovely wife. In the meantime, I want to thank Vance Palm, local sports announcer extraordinaire, for joining us this afternoon, along with my personal cardiologist and the finest heart doctor in the land, Dr. Jeet Singh. Tomorrow is a Thursday. Oh, if it were only so. Oh, if it were only so. Tomorrow is a Tuesday. We'll talk with our judge, Teresa Golder, and of course, Howard Marcus will join us. And I am told that Ashton Genty is in good shape. It was an ankle injury, and they do not expect that to keep him out very long. That is very good news. The bad news is Andy Paez is out probably until the playoffs, which is not a good thing because he was the only hitting outfielder we have. The good news is, though, did you see this? Did you see this video over the weekend? 17 on the bump. And guess who he was throwing to? Live BP.
Will Smith?
Damn Skippy, which is outstanding news. But in the meantime, for Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey. That's what's really going on. Wrap to you tomorrow.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The U.S. and Canada fall deeper into a trade war with new tariffs as talks collapse and blame is spread. Correspondent Bernie Bennett has more.
Each side blamed the other for the collapse of negotiations in Washington late Friday, leading the U.S. to impose 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods, and Canada setting September 8th as the start of retaliatory penalties. President Donald Trump's import taxes will hit about 5% of what Canada ships to the United States every year, ranging from hockey sticks to tongue depressors. Prime Minister Mark Carney said Ottawa would respond with targeted tariff protection for industries exposed to the new U.S. duties, including some steel products. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
Adults are embracing the growing trend of colleges offering a reduced credit bachelor's degree in just 3 years.
34-year-old Giles Sims was sick of getting passed over for jobs because he did not have a college degree and was often told,
on your skills assessment, you guys scored the same, so we went with the one that had the degree.
So the laid-off web developer turned to one of a growing number of 3-year degree programs now being offered around the country. The new U.S. programs let students finish faster by completing as few as 90 credit hours instead of the typical 120 hours for a 4-year bachelor's degree. Critics say that
in 1983, we as a team dragged the trans right out of the